Benwang, this Prince Wangya Prince. Hearing that, Liu Yue's face suddenly changed. Who do you think you're talking to? How dare you reproach me? Bei Chen's handsome eyebrows twitched, his lips that had curled up into a grin slowly turned cold. Reproach you? You think you're worthy? Daring to threaten my woman? I'll surely make you regret it. Bei Chen's eyes were cold, his low voice echoing with a cold threat. An imposing aura suddenly erupted from his body. Liu Yue's whole body shivered with fright as she backed off. Under Bei Chen's terrifying aura, she felt like she couldn't even control her own body. Liu Yue looked at him with fear. How could she have not known Bei Chen's strength was actually so powerful? Moreover, his unexpected tone of speech and his domineering attitude simply left one unable to speak back. You. If you dare to injure me, His Highness the Crown Prince won't let you off. Liu Yue trembled as she shouted. Looking at his matchless cold eyes, Liu Yue for the first time felt fear down to the very bottom of her heart. Whoever dares to threaten Benwang's wife, Benwang also won't let that reckless person off. His words made Liu Yue's heart turn cold. Bei Chen was actually so protective of Bailey Hongzhuang. The crowd surrounding them stared blankly in shock. For a long time Prince Chen had been known for being easy to bully. But no one expected that Prince Chen's anger would actually be so terrible. But most importantly, Prince Chen had actually become an eager wife protector. So the rumors weren't fake, and Prince Chen truly was in love with Bailey Hongzhuang. Whether it was the betrothal gifts or not giving any face to General Bailey on the wedding day, it was all enough to prove Bailey Hongzhuang's position in Bei Chen's heart. Liu Yue had actually bullied Bailey Hongzhuang right in front of his face. Prince Chen was furious. Seeing this desperate situation, Wei Nikhang came running hurriedly. It didn't matter who those two were, but if she didn't intervene now, her entire Nikhang market could crumble down completely. Prince Chen, Miss Li's words were only said in a moment of impulse. You shouldn't let Miss Li's words bother you. Wei Nichang's face was filled with smiles, but her heart was secretly in chaos. Ever since Prince Chen recognized Chen Wangfei as thus, to say the least, his temperament had changed to a certain extent. This Chen Wangfei was truly had some ability. Bailey Hongzhuang also muttered something now. Liu Yue, if you want to complain, do it after you choose a partner. Bailey Hongzhuang had many ways to send Liu Yue packing, but it must be carried out in secret. Confronting her directly in public would only lead to a bad outcome. Wangya, it's only a waste of energy to be mad at her. Bailey Hongzhuang laughed indifferently. Bei Chen's cold face eased a little bit. Since Wang Fei said so, Benwang will drop the subject early. If you dare to invite a snub or court a rebuff, Benwang will make you regret not treasuring this chance. Watching Bei Chen withdrawing his aura, Liu Yue's whole body fell weakly. Her back was covered in cold sweat. Wangya, can you go wait for me outside? I still have a few words to speak of with Miss Li. Bailey Hongzhuang said. Bei Chen nodded and He Mu immediately took the white dress Bailey Hongzhuang had in her hands and paid for it before directly walking out of Jichang Square. After waiting for Bei Chen to leave, Liu Yue stared scornfully at Bailey Hongzhuang. I never thought you were so good at seducing men. Not just Bei Chen, even His Highness the Crown Prince was one of Bailey Hongzhuang's admirers. Since the day he had wanted to marry Bailey Hongzhuang in the drafting feast, she had always been a wound in her heart. She thought Bailey Hongzhuang would have been furious, but Bailey Hongzhuang only curled her lips into a smile. Thank you for your praise. Chapter 107. Liu Yue sucked in a cold breath. How could this woman's reply be so strange? I'm in a good mood today and don't want to bother with you. Bailey Hongzhuang looked indifferent. I only want to offer Miss Li a little piece of advice. You shouldn't speak so early. Remember at that time I was also the future crown princess. Her voice dropping, Bailey Hongzhuang no longer stayed behind, leaving Nikhang Market without another word. Watching her slender figure slowly walking into the distance, Liu Yue unexpectedly couldn't say even a word. She knew clearly what Bailey Hongzhuang was implying. Originally, Bailey Hongzhuang was the future crown princess, but now there was no such engagement. Bailey Hongzhuang was reminding her before she truly became the crown princess, anything could happen. Walking out of Nikhang Market, Bailey Hongzhuang easily spotted Bei Chen standing not so far away as he waited for her. Seeing Bailey Hongzhuang come out, the corner of Bei Chen's mouth curled up into a smile. Is the matter settled? Bailey Hongzhuang nodded her head slightly. Liu Yue's provocative actions, it was only natural for her to want to teach Liu Yue a lesson. The reason why she stayed behind to leave Liu Yue those few last words of parting wasn't because she wanted to warn her but to make her restrict her own actions. She, Bailey Hongzhuang, wasn't a person who had a big heart. Why are you so generous today? This dress was pretty expensive. Bailey Hongzhuang raised an eyebrow, looking at Di Beiqin doubtfully. While she was choosing the dress, she clearly saw just how expensive the price was. When she asked Di Beiqin that time for 100 gold coins, this guy couldn't afford that. Di Beiqin blinked, acting bashful as he gazed at Bailey Hongzhuang. A man's money should be kept for their wife. Since you didn't agree, I didn't give you the gold coins. But this time it's different because you're already one of my people. The expenses will naturally be covered by your hubby with the marriage contract. The corners of Bailey Hongzhuang's mouth slowly curled up. Although she knew the guy was only making stuff up, it was still very pleasing to listen to. The next moment, Di Beiqin took out a black coin card and handed it to Bailey Hongzhuang. From now on, just use the money on this card. Qinxiang Trading Company could be found everywhere in the Xingxian continent. Many people stored their money with the company, finding it very convenient. Bailey Hongzhuang earned a lot of money through Godly Doctor Square, but still only possessed a silver Qinxiang Trading Company card. Di Beiqin actually had a black one? Qinxiang Trading Company's coin cards were divided into 4 grades: green cards, silver cards, gold cards, and black cards. Even if you scoured the entire Fengbo country, you still wouldn't be able to find a single black card holder. Because Qinxiang Trading Company was used all around the entire Xingxua continent, it needs not to be mentioned the astronomical amount of wealth needed to get a black card. But Di Beiqin actually owned such a card. So Di Beiqin was never a poor ghost, but was actually very rich. My own money is enough, you can keep the card yourself. Bailey Hongzhuang replied. Di Beiqin's behavior earlier had given her a misunderstanding. This amount of money was indeed something that could only be shared between husband and wife. Take it, right now it's better for you to focus on cultivating or refining your inner energy. Di Beiqin said, in my opinion, it might be better for you to temporarily close your Godly Doctor Square to focus wholeheartedly on cultivation for the better. Why? Bailey Hongzhuang asked. Di Beiqin smiled. Wifey, no matter the outcome, right now you're the Chen Wangfei. If you show your face out in public while treating people, it wouldn't be pleasant to hear. You care about that? Bailey Hongzhuang looked indifferent. Because of Di Beiqin's nature, it was simply unlikely for him to care about such things. Chapter 108. Never mind. Di Beiqin shook his head. It's just that it's almost time for the royal family's hunting feast. If you can get a good ranking in the hunting competition, it'd be very advantageous for you. Hearing Di Beiqin's words, Bailey Hongzhuang instantly understood his plan and immediately nodded. Then I'll close Godly Doctor Square for now. If her guess was right, then Di Beiqin probably also thinks that it's rather likely for her to be Lan Yunxiao's daughter. If she wanted to face the entire Lan family, there was no time to waste on running Godly Doctor Square. Bailey Hongzhuang temporarily closed Godly Doctor Square but left the immortality pills for sale, then returned to the prince's palace to quietly cultivate. There was only half a month before the hunting feast would start. She needed to grow her strength as soon as possible. The next day, Bailey Hongzhuang directly entered the room next door, trying to find Di Beiqin. Di Beiqin, do you know any places in the imperial city that are good for cultivation, like a waterfall or something? After thinking about yesterday, she believed that staying in the house would only raise her cultivation, but wouldn't strengthen the flesh. In her previous life, since young she was soaked in all sorts of medicinal and herbal baths, making her physique very powerful. Unfortunately, it was very different in this life. Bailey Hongzhuang's body wasn't at all stronger than others, and because of malnutrition, her constitution was even weaker than most other people. Even if she was cultivating now, she was still incapable of using her full power because her foundation, her body, was too shaky. Since it was like this, Bailey Hongzhuang chose to leave the palace to cultivate outside. Only by improving her physique can her true fighting strength come out. Furthermore, cultivating the body can also bring her great benefits. By taking advantage of her young age to lay a solid foundation, cultivating in the future would become much easier. Di Beiqin instantly understood what Bailey Hongzhuang meant, his heart secretly astonished. He already understood that Bailey Hongzhuang wasn't Bailey Jintao's daughter, but Bailey Hongzhuang's changes truly weren't small. The overwhelming majority of cultivators only paid attention to their upgrading their cultivation, and completely ignored improving their physique. Especially cultivators in the younger generation who simply had no clue of just how important strengthening the body was. Only some of the world's strongest powers would urge the importance of improving your physique when training the younger generation. This problem with cultivation wasn't very obvious in the beginning but grows more and more obvious as someone's cultivation reached the late stage. Even if Bailey Hongzhuang was a Lan family daughter, she only found out a few days ago, so how could she have known about the importance of improving your physique? It seems that Bailey Hongzhuang was even more mysterious than him. There's a small mountain not far outside the imperial city. Inside there exists a waterfall. Dibei Chen answered. Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes lit up, her lips loosening into a gentle smile. Really? Can you tell me exactly where? You intend to go there alone? Dibei Chen asked. Even though it isn't too far from the imperial city, there's no shortage of demons and beasts roaming about. Going there alone to strengthen your body is too dangerous. It doesn't matter, I know my limits. The corners of Bailey Hongzhuang's mouth curled up into a smile, her expression unusually staunch. In her previous life she had often gone out to cultivate alone. Who knew how many dangerous experiences she had back then, but one thing was for sure, she was very experienced. Even if she didn't have much strength now, she still believed she would be able to return back safe and sound. I'll accompany you, we'll go together. Dibei Chen's voice was indifferent, but his tone revealed his certainty on his decision. He would not change his mind. Bailey Hongzhuang was slightly startled. I'm going there to cultivate. If you come with me, how will I ever feel a sense of danger? You can rest assured. Unless it's life-threatening and you're about to die, I won't act. Dibei Chen smiled. You're my beloved wifey, if you run into danger, what will I do? Bailey Hongzhuang rolled her eyes. How will you come with me then? Where the wife is, the husband is there. Not waiting for Bailey Hongzhuang to reply, Dibei Chen immediately continued. I already sent some people to prepare to take you and me, us two people together to go out on an outing. This also shows our sincere feelings between the two of us as husband and wife. Dibei Chen. Bailey Hongzhuang's mouth twitched. Dibei Chen didn't seem to hear her shout, leaving without another word. Master, I think Dibei Chen is just worried for you. It's better to just let him come. Little White said slowly. Right now, Bailey Hongzhuang was only on the border of late stage. She could be considered pretty good in the younger generation. Only in Xingshan continent, demonic beasts could move unhindered. If she by some chance encountered a demonic beast stronger than her, Bailey Hongzhuang would be in a lot of danger. Little Black followed, nodding his head. Dibei Chen just hates to part with Master. There's no harm if he comes as well. Bailey Hongzhuang's face revealed helplessness. Just as Little Black and Little White said, there's nothing wrong with bringing Dibei Chen along too. In the Xingshan continent, aside from humans, there were also species of demonic beasts who could cultivate. A high-level demonic beast was very powerful. Compared the weak body of a demonic beasts were very strong. As a result, humans were often the ones at a disadvantage when fighting the demonic beasts. Furthermore, a demonic beast's reproduction speed was far faster than a human's. However, a demonic beast generally wasn't smart. Humans could create all kinds of cultivation manuals and merit laws, or martial skills to increase their fighting strength. The demonic beasts could only rely on their own strength, which was why the scales between the humans and beasts were always kept in check. A demonic beast's pelt could be used as leather. Blood, eyes, and so on could all be used as pill ingredients. To mankind, it could even be said that demonic beasts from head to toe were living treasures. Therefore, there were many cultivators who relied on hunting demonic beasts for a livelihood. So long as they killed a demonic beast, they would be able to sell its body for massive amounts of money. Dibei Chen moved quickly. He was very clear that with Bailey Hongzhuang's current situation, the earlier she can cultivate, the better. Ordering a few men, he and Bailey Hongzhuang got on the carriage to leave the imperial city. News of Prince Chen and Chen Wangfei going out on an outing together was leaked from Prince Chen's palace. Everyone admired the deep affection between Prince Chen and Chen Wangfei very much. Together with how he protected his wife, Bailey Hongzhuang had become the target of envy for many. Even if both of Prince Chen's legs were crippled, he was still very favored. Together with his handsomeness, all questions could be ignored. Hearing the news, Bailey Yuyan ground her teeth. Really, as she guessed, Dibei Chen pampered Bailey Hongzhuang very much. She just couldn't understand why would Dibei Chen treasure Bailey Hongzhuang, such trash, a woman who'd already been married and divorced, so much? But just as Dibei Chen and Bailey Hongzhuang left the imperial city, an earth-shaking scream sounded from the Prime Minister's house. The people in the Prime Minister's mansion were all attracted by the scream. It was the first time Prime Minister Li Qingqian and his wife Zhao Wenxiang heard Li Yue cry out like that. They both hastily ran to Li Yue's room. Note: in this sentence, even if both of Prince Chen's legs were crippled, he was still very favored. Together with his handsomeness, all questions could be ignored. Chapter 110. The two's hearts were very anxious. Yesterday, Li Yue came back home in low spirits, and nothing they said could comfort her. Li Qingqian also hated Dibei-chin, but Li Yue truly acted without any thought yesterday. He couldn't just go up to Prince Chen and start to argue with him. He could only wait for an even better chance for him to step on Prince Chen underfoot. But today Li Yue suddenly screamed first thing in the morning. Could something have happened again? When Li Yue went to sleep last night, she felt her face was a little itchy. After scratching it a little, she no longer cared. She never thought that when she got up in the morning to dress and look into the mirror, she would see her face was completely covered in freckles. Densely packed freckles covered both sides of her nose, making her original, peerlessly beautiful face ugly. She immediately started washing her face, but no matter how she cleaned, the freckles were deeply rooted in her face. It was just impossible to wash out. How could this be? Li Yue stroked her face, frightened. How did my face become like this overnight? Li Yue was still immersed in shock. She simply couldn't believe it was happening, that it was a dream. Her face that she was so proud of. When Li Qingqian and Zhao Wenxiang arrived at her room to see such a messy scene, the servant girls all stood to the side, not daring to speak. Yue, what happened to you? Zhao Wenxiang asked. She was very clear of her daughter's temperament, who was always pampered and never lacked anything. Unless someone provoked Li Yue, there was no way she'd be screaming first thing in the morning. Mother. Li Yue turned around, covered in tears, to look at Zhao Wenxiang standing behind. When seeing how Li Yue's beautiful face was covered in tears, Zhao Wenxiang was overwhelmed by compassion, and after a more careful look, she suddenly noticed the change that had happened on Li Yue's face and could only stare blankly at her. Yue, what happened to your face? Li Yue shook her head, grieved. I don't know. When I woke up this morning, it had already become like this. What can I do? She recalled Bailey Hongzhuang's words from yesterday. Before she's actually married, anything could happen. Now with her face like this, how could His Highness, the Crown Prince, still want to marry her? Li Qingqian's face also changed. His daughter may become the Empress, but if her appearance was like this, how could she go out and see other people? Hurry up and bring a doctor. Li Qingqian waved his hand strongly, ordering the servant. Yes. The servant immediately seized the opportunity and withdrew, going back to the mansion to try and find a doctor. Li Qingqian and Zhao Wenxiang cautiously inspected Li Yue's face full of freckles. The densely packed freckles were simply enough to make anyone feel disgusted after a single glance. Where was her usually beautiful appearance? How could your perfectly good face have turned into this without any cause or reason? Zhao Wenxiang made a flustered look. The day of the wedding with the crown prince wasn't that far away. Once the news got out, their prime minister's prefecture would only become a huge joke. After many tries, Zhao Wenxiang and Li Yue concluded that those freckles would stay on Li Yue's face for some time. They were basically impossible to get rid of. After a long time, Li Qingqian finally spoke. Who did you meet between yesterday and today? Li Yue sobbed. There wasn't anyone apart from the fight with Bailey Hongzhuang outside. There wasn't any people. Hearing her words, Li Qingqian's face couldn't help but change slightly. Don't tell me this has something to do with Bailey Hongzhuang? When Bailey Yuyin was disfigured, nobody knew why or how it happened. But Bailey Yuyin's and Bailey Hongzhuang's long-time grudge was something everybody knew. Chapter 111. In the past, Li Yue had always lived without any burdens or hardship apart from yesterday's confrontation with Bailey Hongzhuang. Now today her face had changed like this. It was just too much of a coincidence. Li Yue was startled, but she didn't want to think about it. All she wanted was a reason to pin all of this on Bailey Hongzhuang's body. That's right, it must be Bailey Hongzhuang. Li Yue repeatedly nodded her head. Father, you must give me justice. Rest assured, if this was truly done by Bailey Hongzhuang, I'll definitely make her pay the price. Li Qingqian's face was gloomy as he spoke. What kind of status did he have? Daring to move against his daughter, Bailey Hongzhuang must be tired of living. The doctor soon came. After examining Li Yue's face, he shook his head. I'm truly sorry. My humble self is unable to tell the cause of Miss Li's sudden freckles. This detonation is something I've never heard about. There's no way at all? Li Qingqian was unwilling to give up hope. If Li Yue's face stayed like this forever, how could she go out and greet other people? In my opinion, This kind of situation is only something godly Dr. Square's Lady Bailey could cure. With other doctors, I'm afraid the chances of curing Miss Li is minimal. The three's faces all turned ugly. Now they all suspected this was Bailey Hongzhuang's doing. If they went and asked Bailey Hongzhuang for such a favor, wouldn't it be just like a joke? After the doctor left, Li Qingqian once again invited several other doctors to take a look. But in the end, everyone's conclusion was the same as the first doctor's. Apart from Bailey Hongzhuang, no one else could cure it. Lord, I think we should try and ask Bailey Hongzhuang for a favor. As long as Lord wishes it, I believe Bailey Hongzhuang would definitely give us face. Zhao Wenxiang pondered. Li Yue objected immediately. Go ask that woman for help? Why should we? She was still thinking how they would bring Bailey Hongzhuang to the threshing floor. If she asked Bailey Hongzhuang for help now, Li Yue was afraid that she'd never have the chance to bring her to the threshing floor in this lifetime. Zhao Wenxiang frowned elegantly, her voice holding a trace of blame. Yue, Bailey Hongzhuang isn't important enough for you to be so angry over. You think a little, as long as you become the crown princess, how would there be any lack of opportunities to deal with Bailey Hongzhuang as the empress? Li Qingqian nodded slightly. Your mother's words are right, we'll handle it like this. Seeing Li Qingqian and Zhao Wenxiang's firm resolution, Li Yue had to agree with them no matter how discontent she was. After all, it was of the utmost importance to protect her face. However, the person Li Qingqian sent to godly Dr. Square to ask for an appointment with Bailey Hongzhuang had to find out that the square was temporarily closed, the reason being that, as surprising as it may be, Prince Chen and Princess Chen had gone on a trip to the mountains. He also sent some people to the prince's palace to ask for their whereabouts but was only told that they didn't know when Prince Chen and Chen Wangfei would return. The news caught the Li family unprepared. Bailey Hongzhuang left at such a crucial time, was there really no way left? In comparison to the Li family's disaster, Bailey Hongzhuang and Dibei Chen were actually very comfortable. He Mu drew the carriage outside as Bailey Hongzhuang and Dibei Chen's eyes glanced over the busy roads and sceneries through the carriage's windows. Now that we left the imperial city, there isn't any more need for you to act. Bailey Hongzhuang said slowly. For an ordinary person, acting as a cripple all day would feel extremely uncomfortable. Dibei Chen smiled faintly. If we run into someone inside the mountain range, our identity would definitely be exposed. For that reason, it was still necessary to continue to be a cripple. If they were to find any clues, acting so long all would have been for naught. He had endured so much just to finally get a lead on the information. Since he could stand up again, why should he continue to hide? Now, it wouldn't be long before he could stand proudly in front of everybody again. Suddenly, a sly smile appeared in the corner of Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes. Would it be better for me to help you change your appearance? Dibei Chen raised an eyebrow. You can even change faces? Traveling in Jianghu, the technique of changing faces were essential tricks to learn. But although most ordinary face-changing techniques were very easy to see through, it was still better than nothing. As for true face-changing techniques, it could even be said that they've long died out. It was said that 1,000 years ago, face-changing techniques were capable of creating a fake face that could be easily passed off as real. Only it's a pity that there were none left. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded her head slightly. I have a face-changing technique that's incomparable to other ordinary ones. I guarantee you'll be surprised. Since you said it's so amazing, you can test it on me. Dibei Chen's eyes had a spoiling light to it. He had clearly seen the crafty look in Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes. It's very likely that this girl had a bad idea in store for him. After telling Dibei Chen to close his eyes, Bailey Hongzhuang began to change Dibei Chen's face. Such a handsome face, she might as well disguise it nicely. Master, Dibei Chen's beautiful face was completely destroyed by you. Looking at the new face Bailey Hongzhuang made, Little Black couldn't bear it and covered his eyes. This was simply something you couldn't look at. Little White's mouth twitched and secretly decided in his heart. He could offend anyone else, but he mustn't offend the master. Master still hasn't forgotten how Dibei Chen had bullied her on the wedding night. Just a look at Dibei Chen's destroyed face, and you would know just how much anger Bailey Hongzhuang truly harbored in her heart. After a long time, Bailey Hongzhuang finally clapped her hands and smiled. All done. Perfect. Dibei Chen opened his eyes. Seeing the bright grin on Bailey Hongzhuang's face, a smile bloomed on his lips. Take a look, is my drawing skills good? A wide grin split Bailey Hongzhuang's face as she handed Dibei Chen the mirror. Taking the mirror, Dibei Chen stared at the completely different man in the mirror. His smile froze. He could only see an astonished man with a big boorish face. A big beard ran across his face and a huge mole sat right by his lip. The face I made for you isn't bad. With this, I guarantee even if we meet somebody, it'd impossible for them to recognize you. Although Dibei Chen's changed face showed helplessness, looking at the completely different man in the mirror, stormy waves appeared inside his black pupils. This face-changing technique was absolutely the best he had ever seen. If his mind wasn't clear, he wouldn't even be able to believe that this was actually his face. Wife's face-changing technique is naturally excellent, but I don't know what other people will think when they see such a large, rough man marrying such a beauty like you. Their faces would probably turn green with envy. Dibei Chen's uncouth face laughed, one hand resting on Bailey Hongzhuang's shoulder. His boorish appearance released a bold and unconstrained air around him. For some inexplicable reason, when she looked at Dibei Chen looking like that, a bad premonition rose in her mind. After some time, Bailey Hongzhuang and company, probably needs to be changed, arrived at their destination. Wang Wangfei were finally at the waterfall. Heimu called from outside the carriage. Bailey Hongzhuang and Dibei Chen slowly walked out of the carriage together. Heimu's eyes widened as he stared at the rough, unfamiliar face and couldn't help but ask, stunned, "Who is he?" Chapter 113. During this entire journey, how could he have not noticed another man on the carriage at all? Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes were full of smiles. Dibei Chen helplessly spoke, "Heimu." Hearing that familiar voice, Heimu looked at Dibei Chen in disbelief. "Wangye, is that you?" "Correct." This Wang Fei used a face-changing technique. Seeing how certain Bailey Hongzhuang was about it, Heimu was unable to suppress a grin. His matchlessly elegant and handsome young lord, now a countryside brute, it was just too funny. "Go ahead if you want to laugh, it'd be bad if you end up choking," Dibei Chen said faintly. "Ftahaha." Heimu laughed his head off as he looked at Dibei Chen's face. "Haha, it's really just too ridiculous. Wangye is truly the most ugly, haha." Ugly. Seeing Heimu laughing until tears came out, Dibei Chen's eyes sunk as he opened his mouth indifferently. "Wifey, Heimu follows me all year around. If we want to hide my identity, his face should also be changed. As for his changed face to match mine, it should be just as ugly." Heimu stopped, startled. Such an interesting face he really didn't want. "Wangye, it was my mistake. A magnanimous person does not remember offenses committed by ones of low moral stature. Forgive me just this once. Wangye, I won't laugh at you again. Wang Fei, please start off leniently, ah." In the end, Bailey Hongzhuang and Dibei Chen completely ignored Heimu's pleas. Heimu's face was directly changed to a big, ugly, brutish man. Dibei Chen's originally tragic appearance compared to Heimu's face actually looked pretty good. Heimu felt wronged as he looked at Dibei Chen and Bailey Hongzhuang sullenly. This couple were just villains colluding together. Bullying an honest, sincere man like this, truly too cruel. A huge valley appeared in front of Bailey Hongzhuang. The green trees melded into the forest, creating a beautiful scene. Hong Long Long. SFX. Rumbling, the waterfall scoured down, its sound clear yet terrifying. Just hearing the noise, Bailey Hongzhuang could clearly tell that this waterfall wasn't small at all. The steam danced in the air. The day was bright and sunny without a cloud in the sky. The stifled feeling inside the carriage relaxed as they all got up. "Wifey, do you like it here?" Dibei Chen asked, smiling. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded her head, pleased. "Very good, it's even better than I imagined." Wifey satisfied. Bailey Hongzhuang turned her head to look at the two big dark-skinned men by her side and said, "I'm going to go and cultivate under the waterfall now. You two are free to do as you like." Her words done, Bailey Hongzhuang no longer paid any attention to Dibei Chen and Heimu. She planned to come alone from the beginning. Those two guys that came along had nothing to do with her. Watching Bailey Hongzhuang's figure slowly walking farther and farther away, Heimu looked at Dibei Chen, puzzled. "Little Lord, Wang Fei wanted to come here just to cultivate? Other than cultivate, what else could she do? Then what are we here for? To relieve our boredom." Heimu rolled his eyes. "Little Lord, the scenery here isn't bad, we'll cultivate here as well." "Okay." Heimu was helpless. He finally understood his little lord only came here to protect Bailey Hongzhuang. Never did he think that he and his little lord would ever become a guard. Bailey Hongzhuang walked to the waterfall, staring at 33-meter-high rapids. Her eyes twinkled with complex lights. Right now this body was far too weak and could only be improved through training. But with such a huge waterfall, if she stood directly under it to cultivate, the process would be just too bitter. Chapter 114, Master, this waterfall is too big for you right now. Your strength can only barely support it. Little White's voice sunk. On the road of cultivation there was always a certain range of risk. But if it was too dangerous, it was always best to be more cautious. Bailey Hongzhuang thought for a moment. From her experience, although cultivating here held a strong degree of danger, it still wouldn't kill her. As for injuries and the like, since she embarked on the road to cultivation, wounds were simply unavoidable. After fixing her mind, Bailey Hongzhuang walked firmly under the waterfall. The heavy sounds of water crashing down filled her ears, her clothing immediately drenched completely. It was currently spring, the water was still icy cold to the touch, and Bailey Hongzhuang's face became somewhat pale because of the chilliness. Master, we can't go inside the primordial chaos ring. Little White shouted as he struggled in the waves. Bailey Hongzhuang just shook her head. Even if you guys don't want to bear any hardships, you still need to improve your strength. It's better for you guys to train with me. Master, don't want to. Little Black howled in grief. To think that her originally beautiful refined appearance had turned into one of a drenched rat's. Their soft shiny fluff, ruined. All ruined. The rocks eroded below the waterfall were slippery and the falling water pressed down on them. Bailey Hongzhuang's body could barely resist the pressure of the water falling from over 10 meters above. Her body was hit by the overhead stones, bringing forward bursts of pain. But Bailey Hongzhuang seemed to feel nothing at all, continuing to climb under the waterfall. But the final result was still the same. Before Bailey Hongzhuang could even stand firm on the rock, her whole body was pounded away by the waterfall's pressure. Standing up once more, Bailey Hongzhuang insisted on walking back under the waterfall every single time. When the originally complaining fluffballs saw Bailey Hongzhuang unyielding back going again and again, they silently closed their mouths. Facing this kind of suffering, their master didn't utter even a single word. It just wasn't right for them to continue bawling, not doing a thing. Bailey Hongzhuang's lips had already frozen to a purple color, but deep inside her eyes a bright glittering light shone firmly. She propped herself up with her own strong conviction. She must be stronger. For all the humiliation she suffered, for her biological parents, and for her own unyielding arrogance. She was ruthlessly swept away by the waves, but kept on standing up over and over again. From the beginning to end, Bailey Hongzhuang had never wavered even a little. Not too long ago, Heimu had seen Bailey Hongzhuang like that, with her spirits raised and full of pride. Wang Fei is truly persistent. Heimu endlessly sighed with regret. She and Little Lord are very much the same. He had followed the Little Lord since childhood, and had watched him suffer through untold hardships in his cultivation. Everyone only saw the Little Lord's glory, but only he knew just how hard Little Lord worked to get there. Although there were always many female cultivators encompassing them, it was very rare to find somebody who practiced as hard as Wang Fei. A glint of admiration flickered in Dibei Chen's eyes. From the very first time he met Bailey Hongzhuang, he knew right away she was a woman with a determined heart. This was Dibei Chen's first time seeing Bailey Hongzhuang cultivate. In her unwavering eyes, he seemed to almost see himself from that time. They were willing to risk their lives, able to pay any price to grow stronger. Maybe that was why he who had never liked women wanted to care for this woman in this short time. Wang Fei already suffered a lot of injuries. Should we help? Heimu couldn't help but worry a little. Chapter 115. Dibei Chen waved his hand. Even if you go, what can you do? Heimu was slightly startled, but after thinking a little, he couldn't help but admit, there was simply nothing he could do to help. Cultivation is something you must persevere in alone. Even if other people can help, in the end you must rely on yourself. Dibei Chen's lips curved, let alone Bailey Hongzhuang who has been cultivating alone for so long. Bailey Hongzhuang didn't leave until nightfall. Her body was already frozen stiff, scorching pain continuously coursing through her body making her eyebrows pucker. Not far from the waterfall was a small cave. It should have formerly been a demonic beast's den, but since it was abandoned, it's now actually a very suitable place for Bailey Hongzhuang to rest. Entering the den, Bailey Hongzhuang cautiously examined her injuries. Her two shoulders were already pounded gray by the waterfall, hands and feet purple from crashing against the rocks as blood bled from a few parts of her body. After one short day she was already completely covered with cuts and bruises. This body's innate quality is really lacking. Bailey Hongzhuang sighed. It would take a very long time if she wanted to speed up this body's cultivation. Wifey. At this moment, Dibei Chen's voice suddenly sounded outside the cave. Bailey Hongzhuang slowly left the cave, only to see Dibei Chen standing, looking at her with a smile. Heimu wasn't by his side. Why did you come? She had noticed Dibei Chen later left to cultivate on his own, but they had previously agreed not to interfere with each other's cultivation. This is for you. Dibei Chen handed Bailey Hongzhuang an exquisite porcelain bottle. Your body will be many times stronger after eating a pill. It can improve your body's inner quality and bolster your recovery speed. Having it would be very beneficial to you. Hearing his words, Bailey Hongzhuang's hands swayed a little as she accepted the porcelain bottle from Dibei Chen's hands. Many thanks. Then you rest properly, don't push yourself. Dibei Chen urged, leaving behind a sentence as he left. Not far away he and Heimu also found a similar cave. If something happened with Bailey Hongzhuang, they'd be able to find out immediately. Watching Dibei Chen's back disappear into the darkness, a touch of warmth appeared in Bailey Hongzhuang's heart. In his current state, Dibei Chen had no reason to come here, and it would have been far more comfortable to cultivate in his palace. He only came to the forest for her safety. Up to now, Dibei Chen was the only person who cared about her safety. Returning to the cavern, Bailey Hongzhuang took out the immortality pills Dibei Chen had gifted her. Bailey Hongzhuang instantly recognized the name of the pills with a single glance. These are 7 treasure pills. 7 treasure pills was extremely useful to low-leveled cultivators. Compared with cultivation pills, the quality was far better. 7 treasure pills' ingredients were very precious. Before, Bailey Hongzhuang had also wanted to refine herself some as well. But when she asked around the Imperial City's herb shops, she just couldn't get enough to refine the 7 treasure pill and could only refine the slightly inferior cultivation pill. But she never expected for Dibei Chen to actually have 7 treasure pills and so much too. With the 7 treasure pills, her cultivation would be 2-3 times faster. Without the slightest hesitation, Bailey Hongzhuang took out a 7 treasure pill and swallowed it before closing her eyes. Entering a state of cultivation when the power stored inside a pill is consumed, one would usually enter a state of cultivation to fully maximize the pill's benefits. Very few cultivators could completely absorb all of the pill's power almost instantaneously. Chapter 116. The next day at the break of dawn, Bailey Hongzhuang left the cave. After one night of cultivation, the terrible pain from yesterday had gotten somewhat better. Even though it was still a little sore, it was something she could easily bear with. After taking the 7 treasures pill, she could clearly sense that her body was clearly stronger than before. This was the power she got from cultivating. Her gaze sweeping the area, Bailey Hongzhuang couldn't find any clue of Dibei Chen and Heimu. No longer continuing to search, she continued to cultivate under the waterfall. Right now she had to make every second count. In order to get a good rank in the hunting feast, she needed to break through as soon as possible. There were 2 reasons why it was so important to get a good achievement at the royal hunting feast. First, to wash away the title of trash, and second, because the rewards were very rich. The royal hunting feast rewards just so happened to be things she needed. Of course, she wouldn't let the opportunity slip away. With yesterday's experience, Bailey Hongzhuang was actually able to stay on the rock as she trained. But after a few mere seconds, her body was again washed away by the tides. Even though it was only a few short seconds, Bailey Hongzhuang's heart was very satisfied. So long there's progress, completely training her body was inevitable. Time flew by in an instant. Bailey Hongzhuang continued to train every day, only stopping when her body was close to collapsing from exhaustion. Every night, she took a 7 treasures pill and cultivated until dawn. Under such almost masochistic training, Bailey Hongzhuang's progress was extremely fast. Coupled with her strange cultivation method, her cultivation speed was even enough to make Dibei Chen stunned. Even with the 7 treasures pill's help, it was simply impossible for Bailey Hongzhuang's strength to improve so quickly. Heimu always respected Bailey Hongzhuang, prostrating himself in admiration. He had originally thought Bailey Hongzhuang would only be able to persist for a day. Every day was simply too difficult. But he never thought Bailey Hongzhuang would actually do it every single day, each time staying on the rock longer than the last. It was as if she just couldn't feel pain or despair. If he could also have Bailey Hongzhuang's willpower, he would certainly break through and enhance his strength once again. Every day Dibei Chen and Heimu both went out to hunt and always came back with different demonic beasts to roast, treating it like a meal. Heimu's barebacking skills were unexpectedly good, so every day Bailey Hongzhuang was able to enjoy a good meal. Furthermore, a demonic beast's flesh was plump and full of vitality, helping immensely as she recovered her strength. Although she didn't know why Di Beichen was taking such pains for her, Bailey Hongzhuang's heart was very grateful to Di Beichen. Of course, this guy naturally wasn't poor either. Finally, the royal family's hunting feast was about to begin. Bailey Hongzhuang, the three people began their journey back. Throughout her cultivation, Bailey Hongzhuang could clearly feel the changes happening within her body. Although her body was still as thin as before, she could clearly feel her power was incomparable to before. Her muscles were even more toned and even her skin was strong and shiny. After eating so many demonic beasts, 10 years worth of malnutrition and abuse have improved a lot. Her whole body shone with the glossy luster of gems, her physique clearly much stronger. In the afternoon, Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen returned to the prince's mansion. After more than 10 days living in the wild, there was an indescribably familiar feeling coming back to the prince's mansion. But the Li family were panicking over Li Yue's freckles the entire time. Seeing Bailey Hongzhuang slow coming back, they looked for other doctors only to get the same outcome. Chapter 117 Lord, the royal hunting feast begins tomorrow. Yue has to participate, but how can she go see His Highness, the Crown Prince with her appearance like this? Zhao Wenxiang worried endlessly. Up until now, the Prime Minister's mansion has completely sealed off all information from leaking out. But tomorrow, it was impossible to continue hiding it. Li Qingxian's face was very unsightly. Tomorrow the royal family's hunting feast will begin, so Bailey Hongzhuang should have already been back. Could it be possible that Bailey Hongzhuang doesn't want to attend? How isn't it possible? Zhao Wenxiang sighed. Bailey Hongzhuang has a trash physique, so there's no point in joining the hunting competition. Both of Prince Chen's legs are crippled, so how could he even take part? Listening to Zhao Wenxiang, Li Qingxian's face turned very ugly. If that's truly right, then we can only say Yue isn't feeling well. No matter what, we mustn't let His Majesty, the Emperor or the Crown Prince know about this. I spent so long preparing for the hunting competition though. Li Yue was unwilling. The royal family's hunting feast and competition only occurs once every 2 years. To win glory at the hunting competition, she had even taken an immortality pill. But now she was actually letting this long-awaited for opportunity slip by. Don't tell me you actually want His Highness, the Crown Prince to see you like this. Li Qingxian's voice was as cold as ice. He has waited many years for an opportunity to turn Li Yue into a phoenix. He couldn't fail through the lack of a final effort now. Just as Li Qingxian was worrying over this, the housekeeper hurriedly ran over to them. Lord, good news. What kind of news can be considered good right now? Li Qingxian's voice was filled with melancholy. Lord, Qin Wang and Qin Wangfei had just returned to the prince's mansion a few minutes ago. The housekeeper's face revealed joy. In accordance to the Lord's instructions, there was a person sent to watch Qin Wangfei at all times. In the case Qin Wang and Qin Wangfei returned, they would inform the Lord right away. Hearing that, Li Qingxian and the other two looked stunned for a moment, then a strong shine bloomed in their eyes immediately. Waiting for so long, Bailey Hongzhuang finally came back the day just before the royal family's hunting competition begins. As long as Bailey Hongzhuang was able to cure Li Yue's face, everything would be safe and sound. Thinking of that, Li Qingxian and the rest of the Li family suddenly felt their hearts stir with excitement. Li Qingxian immediately sent someone to prepare a carriage and hurried Li Yue to the prince's mansion. Right now this couldn't be delayed. Bailey Hongzhuang had barely returned to her room and was about to rest when she heard a servant report the arrival of the Prime Minister. When she heard that report, Bailey Hongzhuang raised her eyebrows and her lips curled into a sneering shape. It seemed that during the days she'd left, Li Yue didn't have an easy time. At the same time, Di Beichen also entered the room. Li Qingxian came and specifically wanted to see you. How are things? Going to play with them? To the words Di Beichen said smiling, Bailey Hongzhuang answered laughing. It's an honor for our esteemed Prime Minister to visit us. Naturally we should go take a look. Di Beichen looked at Bailey Hongzhuang, his gaze holding a spoiling light to it. He already knew why Li Qingxian came here today. He knew right away that it was because of Bailey Hongzhuang's unfortunate temper. This must have happened right after Nikhang Market. Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen moved to the lobby, her footsteps calm and unhurried. Li Qingxian's heart had long been filled with fury. He was this dynasty's prime minister, the future Guizhang, but Di Beichen and Bailey Hongzhuang dared to make him wait for them. Qin Wangye and Qin Wangfei are indeed busy people. Guizhang is kinda like Grand Duke, basically the emperor's father-in-law. Chapter 118. Li Qingqian's words were full of sarcasm. Although he didn't directly say it aloud, Bailey Hongzhuang and Dibei Chen were both smart people, and naturally knew the anger hidden in his voice. What kind of business does Prime Minister Li have with us? Dibei Chen's expression was calm, acting as if the one Li Qingqian was mocking wasn't him, and got straight to the point. An instant of bewilderment flashed in Li Qingqian's eyes. Dibei Chen never had any kind of status, so according to reason, he should have already been shivering in fear and trepidation. But now as Dibei Chen opened his mouth to speak, an imposing aura erupted, filling the air. It was even enough to make him feel pressured. Exactly because of such pressure, Li Qingqian didn't press any further. I came here today to ask a favor from Qin Wangfei. Her beautiful face held a touch of confusion. Bailey Hongzhuang asked, "Ask me?" Looking at Bailey Hongzhuang's honest confusion, Li Qingqian's heart grew a little anxious. Could it be that Bailey Hongzhuang truly didn't have anything to do with this? From the moment he started speaking, he had always been observing Bailey Hongzhuang. If this really was Bailey Hongzhuang's doing, she shouldn't have been able to hide it so well. Recently, strange blemishes had begun to appear on my daughter's face for no reason at all, and hopes Qin Wangfei would be able to treat this. Li Qingqian slowly spoke. Even though he was the one asking for Bailey Hongzhuang's help, Li Qingqian's face was still as haughty as before. Coming here with his identity, Bailey Hongzhuang wouldn't dare refuse. Bailey Hongzhuang's lips curled into a faintly discernible cold smile as she stared at Li Yuyue, who was standing behind Li Qingqian, her voice provocative. Miss Li came to ask for my help? Li Yuyue was very unwilling, coming to the prince's palace. She had previously wanted to make a show out of Bailey Hongzhuang, but now she has lowered her head to Bailey Hongzhuang for a favor. Like this, where would her face go? Ask you? When Li Yuyue heard Bailey Hongzhuang's provocative tone, her face instantly flushed red. You're dreaming. Oh. Bailey Hongzhuang sneered, then please go back. I'm very busy with other things. Bailey Hongzhuang's attitude was lazy, her words seeming very indifferent. In fact, she had never intended to give Li Yuyue the medicine from the start. She was never a kind-hearted person. Those that offend her must prepare to pay a price. Li Yuyue was startled. She never thought that even with Li Qingqian present, Bailey Hongzhuang would still dare to act so arrogant. Bailey Hongzhuang, you clearly know my identity. You actually dare to refuse. Li Qingqian's face was gloomy. This Bailey Hongzhuang truly didn't know what was good for her. An utterly enchanting smile bloomed from the corners of Bailey Hongzhuang's lips. Li Yue, weren't you also saying this sentence earlier? The light in her eyes grew impatient. Bailey Hongzhuang thought that Li Yue was truly an idiot without brains, doing nothing all day but using her identity to bully people. Apart from this, she simply didn't have anything else. Audacious. Li Qingqian was angry. Bailey Hongzhuang, I am the grand and magnificent Prime Minister. Those who dare to offend me, do you know their fates? Bailey Hongzhuang's smile slowly turned cold, her voice containing a bone-chilling iciness. In any case, I am the Qin Wangfei. As the Prime Minister, what can you do to me? If you have the ability, do it directly. Don't stay here to speak a pile of rubbish, I'm too lazy to listen. Hearing her words, Li Qingqian was unable to restrain his anger. With his identity and position, whoever in the imperial court would yield to him, or at least give him some face. This Bailey Hongzhuang actually had the impertinence to challenge him. Simply courting death. Bailey Hongzhuang, do you think your life will be happy as Qin Wangfei? Qin Wang is only a bastard child and isn't even favored by the emperor. Like this, what are you going to be? Li Qingqian shouted. Because Li Qingqian was so furious, he didn't think of any consequences and directly spat the words out. Almost everyone knew Qin Wang was the bastard child of Shenyuan Yutian, but almost nobody dared to speak it aloud in front of others. When Li Qingqian said these words, Bailey Hongzhuang suddenly felt a low pressure surrounding her, almost making it hard to even breathe. Are you aware of what you're saying? An icy, constrained voice suddenly sounded. Dibei Chen's eyes seemed to hold a terrifying storm, like a black hole containing unimaginable power. Li Qingqian was startled. Only after spitting those words out did he regret them. Even if it was true, anything that related to the imperial household's prestige mustn't be talked upon lightly. If this were to be passed on to the emperor, he'd be completely out of luck. Sensing Dibei Chen's cold, acute gaze, Li Qingqian could only feel as if he was being stared at by a fierce beast, his whole body freezing up, becoming hard to even breathe. His eyes slowly widened. Li Qingqian looked at Dibei Chen, stunned. Before, he had only thought Dibei Chen was a cripple without the least bit of power. But Li Qingqian never thought he could actually also be so frightening. Although faint, he almost felt the same fear standing in front of Dibei Chen as standing in front of the emperor. How could it be possible? Li Qingqian felt stunned by his thoughts. His imposing aura was simply too astonishing. How could Dibei Chen have changed so much after marrying? Seeing Dibei Chen actually dare to threaten Li Qingqian, Li Yue's voice was furious. You, a cripple, dares to threaten my father. What do you see us as? Saying this, Li Yue turned to face Bailey Hongzhuang arrogantly. Bailey Hongzhuang, you. Before Li Yue could finish her sentence, Bailey Hongzhuang heard a loud noise followed almost immediately with a mad screech from Li Yue. Because right when Li Yue started to speak, He Mu acted. It was simple but ruthless. One fist directly met Li Yue's body, blasting her straight outside the lobby, smashing through the front door before landing in the yard. He Mu's eyes flashed with excitement. For these 3 past years, he was always forced to restrain his killing intent whenever his little lord was insulted and humiliated. His little lord had never let him act. But today his little lord actually allowed him. Just from little lord's attitude in allowing him to take action, He Mu knew that they would no longer have to endure silently. Just the thought of this made his heart beat with excitement. Li Qingqian was stupefied by what had just occurred. Everything happened in a few mere seconds. Before he could even react, Li Yue was already seriously injured. Dibei Chen, you're done for. Li Qingqian's face turned extremely ugly. He simply couldn't believe the scene before his eyes was actually real. The until now always bullied and humiliated Dibei Chen actually dared to strike against his daughter? Old scoundrel, I'm giving you a chance. If you don't get lost right now, I won't mind having you fly out as well. Dibei Chen's face was indifferent, playing down the scene as if it was no different from kicking out a dog. Good. Li Qingqian's face paled, his eyes containing nothing but fury. Dibei Chen, you'll definitely regret this. Scram. Li Qingqian immediately left the lobby, dragging Li Yue behind him as they left Prince Chen's mansion. In his heart, he secretly vowed to take revenge. Bailey Hongzhuang raised a slender brow. The scene before her was even more brilliant than she had thought it'd be. Chapter 120, Wifey, were you taken breathless by your hubby? Turning his head, a bewitching smile formed on Dibei Chen's face as he gazed at Bailey Hongzhuang teasingly. Bailey Hongzhuang couldn't help be startled at the speed Dibei Chen's expression changed. Speechless, look at yourself first, aren't you the one breathless? Although she said that, the smile in Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes actually deepened. From Dibei Chen's actions today, she clearly understood what he wanted to do. Even a fish, upon encountering difficulties, could become a dragon. Dibei Chen was never destined to live his life curled up in the tiny Fengbo country. Now that his legs were cured, the ambitions in his heart would naturally arise. They happily talked with each other until they arrived at their rooms, but they didn't mention Li Yue at all. In fact, they never even placed Li Yue in their eyes. In the deep moonlight, the wind was cold like water. The light of the moon shone clearly through the window into the room, glimmering over Dibei Chen at the side of the window. A pondering look appearing on his unusually handsome face. Little Lord. He Mu stood perfectly straight, saluting behind Dibei Chen. Dibei Chen didn't turn around and only gazed at the bodies of stars in the night sky, his eyes hazy. Are all the preparations complete? He Mu nodded his head, answering the little lord, everything is already prepared. Tomorrow we will leave Fengbo country. You guard Hongzhuang in secret. No matter what, you must protect her. Dibei Chen ordered. He Mu understands. Looking at his tall and straight posture, He Mu's eyes slowly changed. Little Lord truly does treat Lady Bailey differently. Originally, his little lord used to loathe anything that would hinder him. As a result, for the past few years, there was not one person that could enter the little lord's heart. But since Lady Bailey's arrival, it all seemed to change. Little Lord even left him here to guard her. This alone was enough to show her importance in the little lord's heart. Dibei Chen waved his hand and He Mu left promptly. Little Lord wanted to depart tomorrow, so he probably had many things to talk about with Lady Bailey. Bailey Hongzhuang was cultivating in her room when she suddenly heard a burst of movement outside the door. Dibei Chen directly pushed open the door and entered. Could you at least knock on the door before entering? Bailey Hongzhuang was completely speechless. How would she face him if Dibei Chen were to accidentally see her while she happened to be changing clothes or something? Dibei Chen smiled ambiguously at Bailey Hongzhuang. You're already my wifey, how could you still see me as an outsider? Not regarding somebody as an outsider doesn't seem to be a very good idea. Bailey Hongzhuang raised an eyebrow without another word before sitting down and pouring herself a cup of tea. Coming to find me so late at night, is something wrong? The teasing look disappeared from Dibei Chen's face, and gazing fixedly at Bailey Hongzhuang's face he slowly said, I need to leave tomorrow. Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes changed a little. Although she had already anticipated Dibei Chen's leave earlier, hearing it now, her heart still couldn't help but tremble. Oh. Bailey Hongzhuang agreed indifferently, her face the same as ever as if she didn't care at all. Even though Bailey Hongzhuang hid her feelings extremely well, Dibei Chen still managed to see through to the turmoil in her heart. His eyes turned a little warm. Dibei Chen took a seat beside Bailey Hongzhuang. His pupils deep like an ocean's gazed at Bailey Hongzhuang's that were black as ink, his face serious. I need to go out later. You must take good care of your body, don't let yourself get injured. Bailey Hongzhuang wanted to laugh at the few words Dibei Chen had said, but when she saw the deep worry in Dibei Chen's eyes, her voice got stuck on her throat and she was unable to say anything. I will come back as soon as possible. Chapter 121. Dibei Chen's voice lowered slightly as he gazed at Bailey Hongzhuang's face as if he wanted to engrave her appearance into his very mind. His words were spoken like a promise. He will definitely come back as soon as possible. Once it's solved, he'll immediately look for Bailey Hongzhuang. An ambiguous feeling permeated through the air. Bailey Hongzhuang's face turned a little strange. Dibei Chen was truly devious. I got it. Bailey Hongzhuang said, even though your legs are cured, your physique still hasn't changed. Dibei Chen's lips curved into a faint smile. A moment ago, just for an instant, he could see Bailey Hongzhuang's cheeks turn red. Evidently she was too shy and deliberately changed the topic. Okay. Dibei Chen's face held something that was like a smile, yet not a smile. The embarrassed Bailey Hongzhuang was simply too adorable. Bailey Hongzhuang turned her head away. She knew clearly just how keen Dibei Chen's senses were, and must have long discovered her changes. She didn't want to look at him. This is for you. Dibei Chen finally broke the silence, handing an heaven-earth bag over to Bailey Hongzhuang. Inside are some resources for your cultivation. At your current stage it's very useful. I don't need it. Bailey Hongzhuang declined. She didn't lack money right now. She could prepare some cultivation resources by herself. But the second the words came out of Bailey Hongzhuang's mouth, Dibei Chen refused. Take it. I know you can do it yourself, but even if you want to buy some resources for cultivation, you might not be able to in Fengbo country. Bailey Hongzhuang tried to reject by pushing it away. However, she took it after listening. She knew clearly that Dibei Chen's words were the truth. Although you could buy many things in Fengbo County, a few herbs were very rare. Just for example, Bailey Yuyan had wanted to buy a cultivation pill, but simply couldn't find a way to. Sometimes, even if you had the money to, you still might not be able to buy what you need. Tomorrow's the royal family's hunting competition, you have to perform well. Dibei Chen's eyes were like an abyss, holding a trace of regret. He wanted to accompany Bailey Hongzhuang to join the hunting competition together, but now he couldn't continue to stay. For this he already waited for 3 full years, so he can't keep waiting anymore. Bailey Hongzhuang raised his eyebrows and asked, what else do you need to worry about this journey? Just take good care of yourself. She understood that Dibei Chen had something very important that he needed to do. In her heart, she sincerely wished him success. As for herself, what did she need to fear? Wifey, are you worried about me? Dibei Chen teased with his eyes full of smiles. That's right. Bailey Hongzhuang didn't refuse. Leaving like this, she truly was worried for Dibei Chen's safety. Seeing Bailey Hongzhuang admit it directly, Dibei Chen couldn't help but stare blankly. Soon after, a smile filled his handsome face, graceful yet bewitching. I will definitely follow the mistress's orders. Return safely. The next day, the sun shone brightly as if bathing the blue sky. When Bailey Hongzhuang left the house, Dibei Chen already left the Chen manor. Staring at the empty room beside hers, her heart couldn't help but have a burst of disappointment for an instant before a bright and enchanting smile filled her face. Today is the day for her to display her ability. This useless trash should have already been removed. The carriage was long well prepared. Bailey Hongzhuang set off for the royal family's hunting competition site. He Mu followed Bailey Hongzhuang closely behind. According to the orders of the young lord, he only needed to ensure the safety of the girl. In any other case he does not need to show himself. Chapter 122 Wuxia Mountain was located in the eastern part of Fengbo country, past the imperial palace. The region was vast and not remote, so every time the royal hunting competition would always be hosted there. When Bailey Hongzhuang arrived at Wuxia Mountain, dozens and dozens of tents were set up, some even far into the distance. Fengbo country's flag danced freely alongside the wind. Imperial bodyguards strictly patrolled the camps as the servant girls busied themselves in the tents. When Qin Wangfei's carriage slowly wheeled in, everybody's eyes all turned to stare. Yesterday, news of Li Qingqian being humiliated at Qin Palace had been passed on to almost everybody. Although Li Qingqian tried to hide it as much as possible, it was inevitably discovered by some people. Since Li Yuyue became the future crown princess, many people started to pay close attention to the prime minister's mansion. So when the usually high-profile Li Yuyue suddenly began to stay inside, almost everybody thought that it was rather fishy. But Li Qingqian, that old fox, arranged everything so that not even one drop of water could leak out, keeping everything secret. Bailey Yuyin still cared especially a lot about Li Yuyue. After all, Li Yuyue was the one that snatched away her heart's love and her position. Before, Li Yuyue always walked in front of her proudly. Suddenly lying low like this simply wasn't her style. Bailey Yuyin quietly asked around. Just as she had expected, the Prime Minister's mansion had been paying close attention to Qin Palace's movements, particularly when Dibei Qin and Bailey Hongzhuang returned to the palace. When Bailey Yuyin heard this, she immediately rushed over wanting to find the reason why, only to see Li Qingqian hastily dragging Li Yuyue out of Qin Palace. The bloodstains left on the floor clearly showed Li Yuyue was injured. Although she didn't know why Li Qingqian and Li Yuyue went to Qin Palace, if Li Yuyue got seriously injured, it was no wonder she wasn't here. Whether it was Li Yuyue or Bailey Hongzhuang, they were all targets Bailey Yuyin loathed, so immediately after finding out, she had to spread the news. The future crown princess was beaten in Qin Palace, and Qin Wangfei was the former crown princess. This fact was simply too overwhelming, attracting everybody's attention. Originally, I heard Li Yuyue spent a lot of effort preparing for the royal family's hunting competition to make a good performance. But today she still hasn't come. It's likely that she must have suffered too great of an injury at Qin Palace. Whether it was Qin Wang or Qin Wangfei, they both seem to have changed a lot after getting married. It looks like they aren't easily bullied anymore. Prime Minister Li already came. Bailey Hongzhuang must have staged a good show, truly letting people look forward. People busily talked, their eyes flashing with excitement. A good show like this was truly hard to come by. Bailey Yuyin was even more excited. This entire play was staged by her. Before, Bailey Hongzhuang treated her like that. This time she'll let Bailey Hongzhuang suffer. With the sound of a reminder, Bailey Hongzhuang slowly walked out of the carriage. A vast hunting field appeared in front of her, surrounded by a bright, golden fence. Everywhere was beautiful and noble. The royal hunting competition was set in 3 days. Everybody rested in the rear tents. The hunt was ready to begin and everybody was already gathered in the field. Everyone stared at Bailey Hongzhuang, an incredulous light in their eyes. Chapter 123 Bailey Hongzhuang wore a long white cheongsam. It fluttered with the cool breeze, joining with her cold temperament as if she was walking on clouds, hazy and touching. Bright, golden sunlight shed on her body, like a layer of golden dust, making her appear even more noble and splendid. Every aspect of her face was simply perfect, every action revealing an incomparable elegance, giving people a beautiful pleasure. After not seeing her for some time, Qin Wangfei seemed to have gotten even more beautiful. Nobody knew who said it first, but everyone couldn't help but nod their heads along in agreement. They all thought Bailey Hongzhuang's beauty was all the more moving. The #1 beauty of the imperial city was a title only she'd be worthy of. It's no wonder His Highness the Crown Prince regretted it so much. Handing over such a great beauty to someone else who couldn't regret it. These words were undoubtedly all the men's thoughts. If they could have such a beautiful woman, they'd even be willing to give up 10 years of their life. Although Bailey Hongzhuang and Dibei Qin married and already had a bun in the oven for some time, Bailey Hongzhuang was still the most sought-after woman in the imperial city. Bun in the oven, pregnant before, they only heard Bailey Hongzhuang was trash that couldn't cultivate. Then even turning blind after she could be described as a complete tragedy. Nobody paid any notice to Bailey Hongzhuang's appearance. But now that she appeared in front of their eyes, she was like a blazing sun, brilliant rays of light completely overshadowing all the other young misses. They now knew this former cultivation cripple was actually a peerless talent. Hearing the conversations of the crowd, flames of envy leaped into Bailey Yuyan's eyes. Attention horror. Bailey Haoxuan also stared at Bailey Hongzhuang hatefully. Because of Bailey Hongzhuang breaking his arm, even now his injury still wasn't completely healed. He had no way of joining this year's royal hunting competition. Originally he had wanted to make a good performance at the royal hunting feast and bring glory to the general's household. That honor which should have belonged to him was stolen away by Bailey Hongzhuang. Sister, you must help me take revenge. Bailey Haoxuan clenched his fists, malicious light flashing in his eyes, his voice cold and gloomy. Bailey Yuyan nodded her head, the corner of her mouth curling into a vicious smile. Haoxuan, don't worry. Your older sister will definitely avenge you. No matter if it was for you or for myself. This time they must completely throttle Bailey Hongzhuang. With regards to this, they needed to have sufficient preparation. So long as Bailey Hongzhuang comes, she will certainly die. Under everyone's burning eyes, Bailey Hongzhuang's face stayed calm as she entered the line. Whether it was her or Dibei-chin, neither of them had a good relationship with the chancellors. She didn't need to care about them because whoever stayed to watch the show were all her enemy. Bailey Hongzhuang at all times, why hasn't Chen Wangya still come to protect you? Bailey Yuyan asked. It couldn't be that he didn't dare to come because of his crippled legs, could it? Hearing those words, everyone one after another looked at Bailey Yuyan and Bailey Hongzhuang. Just as expected, as soon as they saw each other, Bailey Yuyan was already picking a fight. Their hearts were also very suspicious. According to reason, Dibei-chin and Bailey Hongzhuang should have come together. But why was Bailey Hongzhuang the only one that came? Bailey Hongzhuang glanced at Bailey Yuyan indifferently, her voice soft and mocking. Ugly person, I already told you not to come out. Why won't you listen to me? Chapter 124. Those simple words stabbed straight in her sore spot. Even now, there wasn't the slightest bit of improvement with the scars on her face. As time went by, she slowly got used to it. But Bailey Hongzhuang's words were simply too rude. Bailey Hongzhuang, what does my ugliness have to do with you? Bailey Yuyan couldn't hide the anger on her face. This woman's would make a person cough blood. What does Dibei-chin coming or not have to do with you then? Bailey Hongzhuang sneered. With your looks, there's no way my Holmes Wangya will look at you. Don't delude yourself. Hearing Bailey Hongzhuang's words, the way everybody looked at Bailey Yuyan couldn't help but change slightly. Could it be that Bailey Yuyan has eyes on Dibei-chin? Earlier, Bailey Hongzhuang was meant to marry Xinyuan Huan, but Bailey Yuyan had stolen Xinyuan Huan. Bailey Hongzhuang was now married to Dibei-chin. Would Bailey Yuyan try to snatch him away too? Seeing everyone stare at her with contempt, Bailey Yuyan's face suddenly changed. I didn't have any notions about Dibei-chin. TL's note. The Ra actually said Bailey Hongzhuang, but I believe it's a typo. Then why are you still asking? Bailey Hongzhuang's face was indifferent. From beginning to end, her face was always calm and even. But on the contrary, Bailey Yuyan was constantly hopping around in anger, really suspicious. Everyone looked at each other in dismay. Bailey Yuyan still couldn't face off against Bailey Hongzhuang. Even though she had started the quarrel, the one ridiculing her the most now was Bailey Hongzhuang. Bailey Yuyan seemed to be stomping around in anger similar, the ugly duckling. Whereas Bailey Hongzhuang seemed to be a true noblewoman. Sensing the crowd's gaze change, Bailey Yuyan's face turned ugly. She had always wanted to take revenge on Bailey Hongzhuang in front of everybody, but every time, it never seemed to end well. Sister, there's no need to take part in her nonsense. There will be plenty of time to make that trash lose face soon. Noticing the awkward position Bailey Yuyan was in, Bailey Haoxuan immediately started ridiculing her too. Bailey Yuyan nodded her head slightly, coldly snorting. Her mouth couldn't match Bailey Hongzhuang's, but she only needed a moment for the hunting feast to begin before she forces Bailey Hongzhuang to kowtow and beg forgiveness from her. The smirk on Bailey Hongzhuang's lips didn't change while Bailey Haoxuan looked at her with disgust. Defeated by my hand, what qualifications do you have? Hearing her words, Bailey Haoxuan's face instantly turned ugly. Bailey Hongzhuang had truly hit it where it hurts. From childhood, he had never placed Bailey Hongzhuang into his eyes. Under his hand, that trash would only be led to a dead end. But this time he was actually defeated by Bailey Hongzhuang's hand. Beaten by trash, wouldn't that mean he was trash below trash? Bailey Hongzhuang, last time you were only full of tricks. This time you'll die a very ugly death. Bailey Haoxuan said while clenching his teeth enraged. He really regretted not being able to kill Bailey Hongzhuang right then. Everybody looked at each other in dismay. Bailey Hongzhuang and the general's household's relationship has truly become irreconcilable, even having no misgivings, leaving no face in front of so many people. While the crowd was talking, the emperor, empress, and his highness, the crown prince slowly walked in like stars around the moon, attracting everyone's attention. Everybody watched until the empress and emperor sat down, smiling. Today is the day of the royal family's hunting competition. I hope that the younger generation can show a good performance. Cultivation was the most important thing in the Xingqian continent. The younger generation he was facing now would very likely be the future dynasty's cornerstone and tower of strength. Therefore he valued them all very much. The younger generation's faces shone with excitement. This was the royal family's hunting competition. If they showed a good performance and managed to attract the emperor's attention, their future would be very bright. Whoever can win first place in today's hunting competition will get a beast pet. The next moment, Xianyuan Yutian words were like dropping a stone into a calm pond, creating many waves. Everybody couldn't help but stare, eyes wide as they looked at Xianyuan Yutian excitedly. A beast pet, that was something everyone longed for. In the Xingqian continent, there were some demonic beasts that were caught and trained from a young age. If you could contract with such a creature, they would become your most faithful partner in your lifetime. A human's heart was unpredictable. A beast pet was truly the most trustworthy. Beast pets had different levels of strength, but they were all very rare and precious. They were something common people simply couldn't have. Even the sons and daughters of government officials couldn't afford them. So when Xianyuan Yutian announced beast pets as the reward, everybody grew excited. Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes also changed slightly. There was always a reward for the top 3 in the royal hunting competition, but it was the first time the prize was so extravagant. She was also very interested in this beast pet. She had to get first place. Sensing the crowd's fervent, fiery eyes, Xianyuan Yutian's smile widened. This was the effect he had wanted. This year's royal hunting feast was somewhat different from the usual. He needed to spark the younger generation's potential. Know that there are other people watching the royal hunting competition as well. In addition to the first place's beast spirit, second place will get a bone-cleansing pill, and third place receives a lotus cloud fungoid. With every word Xianyuan Yutian spoke, their eyes grew more and more fervid. The rewards this time are really rich. The royal family's capital is truly deep. This is the first time I saw such lavish awards. They're really lucky to participate in this year's royal hunting contest. Everyone couldn't help but have a burst of envy. Who knew who could get into the top 3 this time? The rewards were just too enticing. Bailey Yuyan's face was filled with hard-to-hide excitement. Getting first place was simply a golden opportunity bestowed by heaven for her. In the past, she was always competing with Li Yuyue, but now she's injured and unable to take part in the royal hunting contest. Although the other cultivators' strength weren't bad, there was still quite a gap between her and them. Although Bailey Hongzhuang seemed to be able to compete now, she was definitely not her opponent. This way, Xianyuan Huan would win first place and she would at least have second place on her hands. Although she really wanted the beast pet, if Xianyuan Huan became first, she could accept it. Xianyuan Huan arrived at the hunting ground, his eyes going straight to Bailey Hongzhuang. In the time he didn't see her, Bailey Hongzhuang seemed to have grown even more beautiful and enchanting. Could it be that she truly loves Dibei-chin? Because she loved Dibei-chin, after marrying, she became all the more beautiful and alluring. Thinking of this, an uncontrollable and frantic jealousy filled Xianyuan Huan. This was the woman he fancied. That Dibei-chin trash dared to snatch her away. Master, that Xianyuan Huan keeps on staring at you. Little Black couldn't help but say. That sort of undisguised gaze was difficult to ignore, but she already had no interest in Xianyuan Huan whatsoever. Bailey Hongzhuang chucked a bit, just let him. Little Black grinned, Master's charm is truly unlimited. Chapter 126 Xianyuan Yutian swept over the crowd of youths before finally stopping on Li Qingqian, his gaze revealing a trace of suspicion. Prime Minister Li, why don't I see Li Yuyue? Li Yue was the future crown prince Wangfei. If she could give a good performance at the royal hunting competition, she would become much more respected. When Zuanyuan Huan spoke, everyone's faces looked as if they were preparing to watch a good play. The atmosphere turned tense. Li Qingqian was just waiting for a chance to teach Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beiqian a lesson. If the emperor just so happened to mention it, he could take the chance to strike. Just as expected, Li Qingqian's face instantly flushed with anger. His eyes stared at Bailey Hongzhuang, filled with rage as if he wanted to boil her into stew right then and there. You should ask Qin Wangfei about this, Li Qingqian said coldly. Hearing his words, Xianyuan Yutian looked at Bailey Hongzhuang astonished. He had heard before that Bailey Hongzhuang and Li Yue had a conflict in Nikang Market. Could this be related to that? Prime Minister Li, speak clearly. I can't understand what you mean. Bailey Hongzhuang's face was indifferent. Even though she knew Li Qingqian would definitely seize the opportunity to attack her, she simply didn't care. Seeing Bailey Hongzhuang's attitude, Li Qingqian's eyes were replaced with hatred. Emperor, right now Qin Wang and Qin Wangfei are acting so arrogant as if no one else mattered. Yesterday at Qin Wang's hand, Yue was actually injured. Yue truly wanted to take part in the royal hunting competition, but her injury was actually very severe and was in no condition to participate in the competition. Li Qingqian's voice grew more and more emotional. Emperor, you must give Yue justice, ah. Xianyuan Yutian and Jiang Jining's faces changed when they heard his words. From Li Qingqian's words, they knew that it must be true. But up until today, Di Beiqian was always bearing it patiently. Why would he suddenly change his attitude now? But they knew Di Beiqian's original identity. However, for the past 3 years, Di Beiqian had always been low-key and enduring it silently. They had thought Di Beiqian no longer had any prospects, so they grew more and more careless about him. Now Di Beiqian's attitude suddenly changed back to his original mannerisms. Is it because he wanted to protect Bailey Hongzhuang? Or could it be he finally had the resources to go back? Thinking what might happen, Xianyuan Yutian and Jiang Jining's hearts trembled. If it was truly such, Di Beiqian must not be allowed. Qin Wangfei, do you have anything to say? Xianyuan Yutian asked, remaining calm and collected. Li Qingqian's status in Fengbo country wasn't ordinary. Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes shined with scorn, asking, Prime Minister Qin avoided the important and only spoke of trivial things. Why don't you say why you came to the prince's palace in the first place? Hearing her words, everyone couldn't help but look at Li Qingqian curiously. Even now, they all thought it was very strange that Li Qingqian and Li Yue had gone to Qin Palace. It was just too odd. Li Qingqian's face changed slightly, his brain continually thinking of excuses why Li Yue couldn't come to the royal hunting competition. Although he was ashamed and resentful about Li Yue getting wounded yesterday, it gave him a very good excuse for him to cover everything up. He didn't know how so many people already knew of this, but right now it was better to just say it instead of hiding it. Whether it was Di Beiqian or Bailey Hongzhuang, nobody could compare to his status and identity. From what he saw of the emperor's attitude to Di Beiqian, he was sure the emperor would stand on his side. Chapter 127. A few days ago Yue and Qin Wangfei had a little conflict, so I brought Yue to Qin Palace to clear the resentment between us. But I didn't expect for Qin Wangfei to speak so rudely or for Qin Wangye to actually send someone to seriously wound Yue. Qin Wangye and Qin Wangfei's conduct is just truly too much. Li Qingqian's words were filled with righteousness, acting as if Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beiqian's actions were disgraceful and outrageous. Facing Li Qingqian's criticism, the scorn in Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes only grew deeper as her lips widened into a smile. Prime Minister Li, how could you not blush saying such things? What I said were facts, why would I blush? Li Qingqian insisted. Bailey Hongzhuang glanced at the crowd around them. Prime Minister Li might as well ask everyone here. Does anyone think he is saying the truth? Everyone lowered their heads one after another. In fact, nobody believed Li Qingqian's words were the truth. With Li Qingqian and Li Yue's temper, not forcing Di Beiqian and Bailey Hongzhuang kowtow in an apology would already be pretty good. Going personally to seek reconciliation, how could that be possible? Seeing everyone's faces, Li Qingqian's complexion turned ugly. What do you mean? Justice for myself is the will of the people. Bailey Hongzhuang raised her eyebrow. Since you brought up the topic yourself, I don't mind saying the truth. Emperor, yesterday Li Qingqian and Li Yue went to Qin Palace just to speak rudely, ordering people by pointing the chin to make me treat an illness. Then he made jeering remarks saying Wangye was your illegitimate child. So in his anger, Wang Ye sent someone to take action. Everybody sucked in a cold breath as Bailey Hongzhuang finished her words, staring at her shock. Until now, news of Dibei Qin being the emperor's illegitimate child was always spread around secretly. Although Xinyuan Yuqian already heard of it, nobody would dare to say come out and say it directly. But didn't Bailey Hongzhuang just do that? Xinyuan Yuqian's brows couldn't help but raise. Is this true? Emperor, you cannot listen to her drivel. Li Qingqian immediately tried to justify himself. If even a bit was revealed, his position was at risk. Bailey Hongzhuang is saying this to escape the blame. Emperor, please see clearly. Emperor, Li Qingqian was always trying to hide that Li Yue's face had gotten a disease. Even today, in order to conceal it, he shrank from responsibility and tried to push all the blame onto my body. As long as Emperor sends someone to the Prime Minister's mansion, you will understand. Bailey Hongzhuang continued to remain calm. As early as yesterday, she had already expected for something like this to happen. Li Qingqian's position was rather high and would surely try to avoid all responsibility while pushing it all onto her. But apart from the Emperor and Empress, nobody knew of Dibei Chen's identity. Therefore, along with Dibei Chen's sudden rise, their positions would be incomparable. Seeing Bailey Hongzhuang speak so reasonably, everybody was somewhat partial to Bailey Hongzhuang. After all, Li Yue not coming today was just too suspicious. Li Qingqian instantly turned ugly. In accordance with his plan, the emperor shouldn't have allowed Bailey Hongzhuang to even explain, but the situation right now was entirely different from what he had thought. Emperor, Li Qingqian still wanted to explain. If the emperor truly sent a person to check the prime minister's mansion, the secret would no longer be possible to cover up. Xinyuan Yuqian waved his hand. This affair will stay in the royal hunting competition and will be discussed after. Chapter 128. At this very moment, Xinyuan Yuqian's heart simply wasn't into it. He only wanted to understand why Dibei Qin suddenly changed. Before he found out why, he would not make a decision. Looking at Xinyuan Yuqian's attitude, Li Qingqian didn't dare to be wordy. He held a faint feeling in his heart. Li Yue's dream of becoming the crown princess Wang Fei was finished. Bailey Yuyan's eyes twinkled with excitement. Whatever the final result was, it would either be Bailey Hongzhuang's or Li Yue's downfall. Both were what she had wanted. This time she really made a good move. Like this, the Prime Minister's mansion and Qin Palace had become complete enemies. She truly didn't break a sweat defeating her rivals. Suddenly, Bailey Yuyan sensed Bailey Hongzhuang smiling as she stared at her. Bailey Hongzhuang's two pitch-black eyes seemed to be able to pierce through a person's heart, like all her thoughts were exposed with nowhere to hide. She knew. From Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes, Bailey Yuyan was sure Bailey Hongzhuang knew everything she had done. How was it possible? Bailey Yuyan couldn't help but be scared, but then quickly calmed down. Even if Bailey Hongzhuang knew, what proof did she have? Note: Ross used Bailey Hongzhuang, but I'm assuming it's a typo. A moment later, Bailey Hongzhuang's lips curled into a smile. She slowly raised her right hand. While no one was watching, she looked at her and gave her a throat-cut gesture. Bailey Yuyan's mind couldn't help but shake, a trace of chilliness making its way into her heart. When she looked at her again, Bailey Hongzhuang was no longer staring at her. The royal hunting competition's rules are as followed. Wuxia Mountain only has one storm wolf. Whoever is capable of beheading the storm wolf and bringing back its demonic crystal will be first place. In addition to this, second and third place will be awarded according to the number of demonic beasts you kill. Hearing the name Storm Wolf, the competing younger generation's faces all changed. A storm wolf's strength was equivalent to the cultivation of late-stage, mysterious earth. But its body was very nimble and was very fast. Its speed was like a ferocious storm, hence the name. But even though on paper it only said the storm wolf was at the late-stage, mysterious earth, in fact, it was very difficult for cultivators of late-stage, mysterious heaven to kill it. This time, although the hunting competition's rewards were unprecedentedly rich, the trials were also very big. The royal hunting competition officially begins. With a wave of Xinyuan Yuqian's hand, the curtain to the hunting competition opened. The minds of everybody competing were cold. Today it was their stage to reveal their strengths. All the youths conferred with their family elders. They needed to choose a good colt to ride into the hunting field. Father, I will work hard. Bailey Yuyan's face was serious. For her, this was her last chance. If she couldn't give a good performance today, she needn't think about going out into the sun again. Bailey Jintao slowly nodded his head. Originally he had wanted for Bailey Haoxuan and Bailey Yuyan to perform well in the hunting competition together, but now he could only rely on Bailey Yuyan. These days, more and more troubles emerged for the general's household. If Bailey Yuyan could get into the top 3, some of the negativity surrounding the general's household will loosen. Perform well. Bailey Jintao clapped Bailey Yuyan's shoulder, his face holding a comforting smile. Although Bailey Hongzhuang prevented Bailey Haoxuan from competing, Bailey Yuyan's rival also wasn't able to compete. This time the Prime Minister's household was doomed to fail. Chapter 129. Not many could match Bailey Yuyan's strength in the younger generation. Taking the top 3 wasn't hard at all. Saying this, Bailey Jintao couldn't help but look at Bailey Hongzhuang. Since the day Bailey Hongzhuang blocked his fist, he already knew Bailey Hongzhuang was able to cultivate and was actually not at all weak. But it was only the touch of a fist. He had no idea how strong Bailey Hongzhuang truly was. Bailey Hongzhuang picked out a fine black horse. She stood up and saddled the horse before raising a whip, urging it to the hunting field. Everybody watched Bailey Hongzhuang go inside the hunting field, their eyes all reflecting shock. Wasn't Chen Wangfei incapable of cultivating? She actually dared to enter the hunting field alone. If she came across a demonic beast, wouldn't she die? Demonic beasts were ruthless. Every time a royal hunting competition was hosted, there would always be some deaths. Therefore, if one of the younger generations was too weak, they wouldn't dare to join. But Bailey Hongzhuang was known in the imperial city as trash. Now entering the hunting field alone, wasn't she simply courting death? Your information must be too old. Before at Godly Doctor Square, Chen Wangfei defeated Bailey Haoxuan. Bailey Haoxuan was truly strong at mysterious earth middle stage cultivation. Is that true? But I heard the general's household say Chen Wangfei used some kind of trick to overpower Bailey Haoxuan. If she was truly able to cultivate, why would she have always held the title of trash in cultivation? Listening, everybody was uncertain. In fact, everything they knew was only hearsay. Nobody knew what was true and what was false about Bailey Hongzhuang. In my opinion, I think Chen Wangfei used many tricks to win at that time. Otherwise, why would the general's household always treat her as a disgrace? Everybody nodded. A few couldn't help but sympathize with Bailey Hongzhuang. Dibei Chen wasn't participating in the hunting competition. Bailey Hongzhuang was unable to cultivate. If she meets Bailey Yuyan, what good result could she have? In the hunting field, life and death were only natural. Anything could happen. Based on how much Bailey Yuyan despised Bailey Hongzhuang, she would definitely find a secluded place to quietly kill Bailey Hongzhuang. Then Dibei Chen would have no way of helping. Sister, you must succeed. Bailey Haoxuan shouted. Bailey Yuyan looked at Bailey Haoxuan, and then saw Su Wanjing glance at her. Bailey Yuyan shouted back, rest assured. I will definitely settle this perfectly. Having said that, Bailey Yuyan urged her horse into the forest with a whip. She had to find Bailey Hongzhuang and finish her. The hunting competition lasts for 3 days. All the participating cultivators must survive until the last day before coming out. The royal family's imperial guards also patrolled the hunting field, conveying information into the outside. Yu Xinyuan Yutian first sent out people to look for news about Dibei Chen. He needed to know what Dibei Chen was thinking. In the hunting field, everywhere was filled with trees reaching as high as the sky. The morning sun peeked through the trees, revealing sparse rays of light. Bailey Hongzhuang walked into the mountain range. The environment was quiet. The only sound was the horse's trotting footsteps. Hearing the words, Bailey Hongzhuang narrowed her eyes. Her deep, black eyes, deep as a well, flashed with alarm and suspicion. Chapter 130. The 2 black and white fluff balls always had good talent. After cultivating for so many years in the primordial chaos ring, no matter if it was mind or body, they were very strong. To say the least, right now she was no match for the 2 fellows. But since she wanted to increase her strength as fast as possible, she had usually never let the 2 fluff balls come out. She firmly believed Little White's judgment. The royal hunting competition this year is very different from the previous ones. Bailey Hongzhuang's black pupils contain thoughtfulness, just that the awards are incomparable to the former years. Something abnormal must have happened. If there wasn't something wrong, it'd be impossible for the royal family to give such a heavy reward. These people must only be observing the situation in the hunting competition, and probably aren't dangerous. Little Black slowly said. It could sense the meaning behind the searching gazes and knew that they didn't have a target or particular goal. They only wanted to clearly watch Bailey Hongzhuang's performance in the hunting competition. Hearing its words, Bailey Hongzhuang slowly nodded her head. It doesn't matter what their goal is so long as I get what I need. As for anything else, she just didn't care. For the participating cultivators, a storm wolf really isn't an easy test. Little Black smiled. If a cultivator with insufficient strength were to run into the storm wolf, it was very much possible for them to lose their lives. But with Bailey Hongzhuang's strength, it posed no threat at all. Bailey Hongzhuang's lips curled into a faint smile. The most troublesome thing isn't necessarily the storm wolf, but the people. Xinyuan Yutian said it very clearly. Whoever could return with the storm wolf's crystal would be the victor. As for who killed the storm wolf, it didn't matter. Whoever could get the wolf's crystal and successfully appear in front of Xinyuan Yutian was the most important. She was almost certain that the overwhelming majority of the cultivators didn't think about how to kill the storm wolf, but how to handle whoever killed the storm wolf. Little Black and Little White fell silent. This was something they were very clear about. Usually cultivators had their own group or school they belonged to, so it was very rare for a cultivator to be alone like Bailey Hongzhuang. Master, what are you planning? Little Black couldn't help but ask. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled lightly. Let nature take its course. The horse ran through the mountains. Bailey Hongzhuang's posture was unaffected, her eyes always looking for changes in the environment. She was currently in the outer ranges of Wuxia Mountain, which had the least demonic beasts. The deeper she goes in, the higher and higher the chances are of finding demonic beasts. Time slowly passed by. Bailey Hongzhuang's luck was actually pretty good. Even after walking for so long, she still hadn't encountered even a single demonic beast. Master, someone's following us. Little Black said suddenly. Bailey Hongzhuang's face didn't change. Her refined, quiet and exquisite face rippled with a clear smile. Bailey Yuyan is still truly impatient. We'll just let her continue to tail us. There was nothing great about Bailey Yuyan's shadowing technique. She had long discovered her. This woman must be impatient to find a secluded spot to kill her. Her red lips raising slightly, the corners of Bailey Hongzhuang's mouth curved to form an icy, sly smile. Since Bailey Yuyan was already itching to get on with it, she'll find a good place for her. Their contradicting views were too strong. One needed to go. Chapter 131. Bailey Yuyan carefully followed behind Bailey Hongzhuang's body. Her horse had long been discarded, otherwise its stomping would easily inadvertently alarm Bailey Hongzhuang. She had always been looking for an opportunity to deal with Bailey Hongzhuang, but Qin Palace was always heavily guarded. She was always never able to do a thing. The royal hunting competition was a long-awaited for opportunity. In here, even the heavens wouldn't know that she was the one who killed Bailey Hongzhuang. She had trailed her for the whole journey. Bailey Yuyan discovered that Bailey Hongzhuang was walking to a more and more remote place. Around them there were already no cultivators in sight. A sin-sighter smile appeared on her face covered with thick scars. The gods were truly on her side. As she heard the footsteps behind her grow louder and louder, Bailey Hongzhuang's smile grew more and more mocking. Originally she didn't plan on using the royal hunting competition to dispose of Bailey Yuyan. Doing it now seemed very good. Little Black and Little White watched Bailey Yuyan strut towards them, their eyes full of interest as if they were watching a good play. Bailey Hongzhuang, in here, I want to see who can save you. Bailey Yuyan's face was arrogant. At last she no longer needed to hide. The thought of Bailey Hongzhuang's appearance as she kowtowed to her while begging forgiveness couldn't help but give Bailey Yuyan a burst of excitement. Bailey Hongzhuang slowly turned her body. A faint smile hung on her beautiful, delicate face. I, Bailey Hongzhuang, never needed anybody to protect me. Seeing Bailey Hongzhuang's indifferent face, Bailey Yuyan froze for a second and couldn't help but turn around. Could there be someone else nearby? But when she looked, there was nobody near them at all. Bailey Hongzhuang, daring to boast shamelessly now, you're truly just like a damned duck reluctant to admit its mistakes. She was certain that there wasn't anyone else in the clearing. Bailey Yuyan completely laid down the worries in her heart. With her strength, it was just too easy for her to dispose of Bailey Hongzhuang. Bailey Hongzhuang's hands reached to her chest, a shallow smile on her face. You're still talking rubbish. Bailey Hongzhuang's voice dropped, her eyes filled with coldness. She didn't want to waste time on Bailey Yuyan. Since you came to kill me, make a move. Bailey Yuyen was startled. The situation gave her a somewhat unreal feeling. Normally speaking, Bailey Hongzhuang should have panicked the moment she saw her, using everything she had to stall for time. But then why did it feel like their positions were swapped? Since you want to die, I'll help you. Bailey Yuyen snorted coldly. The inner force in her body surged up. Without seeing the coffin, Bailey Hongzhuang wouldn't know fear. First, she'll give her a little taste. Early-stage mysterious Ian-ranked power instantly flooded out. Bailey Yuyen's eyes were filled with excitement. For the past few days she was cultivating with all her strength. Even her mother took out everything she had to support her, allowing her to finally break through into the mysterious Ian realm. Apart from the general's household, she didn't tell anyone else. Bailey Yuyen wanted to create a big stir in the royal hunting competition. You're very lucky being the first one to see the power of a mysterious Ian-ranked cultivator. You're sick. Bailey Hongzhuang's black eyes didn't hold any surprise, not hiding the sneer on her face. She had already predicted that Bailey Yuyen would break through to mysterious Ian realm's early stage. After all, the general's household also didn't lack resources. All of Bailey Jintao's hopes and dreams rested on Bailey Yuyen's shoulders, so naturally he would be willing to support her. What did you say? Bailey Yuyen raised her voice. Bailey Hongzhuang actually dared to say she was sick? Bailey Hongzhuang shrugged her shoulders indifferently. It's just breaking through, why be so proud? Bailey Yuyen's delicate body trembled. Bailey Hongzhuang's reactions were completely different from her expectations. Why wasn't she the least bit scared when she found out? Bailey Yuyen grew angry, her chest heaving up and down. Once I beat you up, you won't dare to be so arrogant. With your skills? Bailey Hongzhuang raised her chin, eyes full of disdain. She waggled a finger. It's not good enough. Hearing her words, Bailey Yuyen was filled with anger. Let's see if Bailey Hongzhuang would dare to mock her after being beaten to the ground. Bailey Hongzhuang's pupils flashed, inner force also surging through her body. Now she can finally avenge the dead Bailey Hongzhuang. But right at that moment, Bailey Hongzhuang discovered a figure approaching them not too far away. Master, that person is Xianyuan Huan. Little Black piped up. Hearing its words, Bailey Hongzhuang pursed her long brows. She didn't expect for Xianyuan Huan to suddenly appear now. Xianyuan Huan had started looking for Bailey Hongzhuang the second he entered the hunting field. But by the time he entered, he was already late. There were already no traces of Bailey Hongzhuang. He himself also didn't know why he wanted to find Bailey Hongzhuang. Maybe it was because his heart was somewhat unwilling, and find out what Bailey Hongzhuang was doing when all was said and all was done. Suddenly, some noise ahead of him attracted Xianyuan Huan's attention. The sounds weren't unfamiliar at all to him. It was Bailey Yuyen's voice. Bailey Yuyen, what are you doing? Xianyuan Huan shouted angrily. Bailey Yuyen was actually preparing to kill Bailey Hongzhuang. Bailey Yuyen was just about to swing down her hand to kill Bailey Hongzhuang when she suddenly heard a voice from behind her. She couldn't help but be startled, her fist missing its target. Because of the missed power, Bailey Yuyen's face turned red, receiving some backlash. Xianyuan Huan finally arrived in front of Bailey Hongzhuang and Bailey Yuyen. Bailey Yuyen's face changed, her charming face covered with panic. Your Highness the Crown Prince, you, Bailey Yuyen, this time you actually wanted to kill your own sister, you're truly scorpion-hearted. Xianyuan Huan lashed out. Bailey Yuyen's face turned pale. She didn't expect Xianyuan Huan would actually lash out at her so ruthlessly, and all because of Bailey Hongzhuang. Bailey Yuyen glared at Bailey Hongzhuang, her eyes full of hatred. This was all your plan. Now she could understand why Bailey Hongzhuang was so calm and collected. It was all because she was waiting for Xianyuan Huan to appear. Bailey Hongzhuang was somewhat speechless. Bailey Yuyen's imagination was truly too terrible. She already had a plan the minute Bailey Yuyen began following her. When Xianyuan Huan appeared, he not only ruined Bailey Yuyen's plans but hers as well. Whatever you think. It didn't matter to Bailey Hongzhuang. Xianyuan Huan faced Bailey Hongzhuang, his voice a bit gloomy. Are you okay? Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes sneered. Yes, I would like to thank His Highness, the Crown Prince, for his care. Chapter 133. Although Xianyuan Huan didn't pick a fight with her, Xianyuan Huan's relationship with the former Bailey Hongzhuang couldn't be ignored. Hearing Bailey Hongzhuang's sarcastic words, Xianyuan Huan was somewhat embarrassed. Before, he and Bailey Yuyen were always using every possible way to humiliate Bailey Hongzhuang. Caring for her now was indeed somewhat ridiculous. Your Highness Crown Prince, What you saw just now isn't what you think. Bailey Yuyan hurriedly tried to explain. Even though she knew it was almost impossible for her and Shenyuan Huan to be together now, she still loved him. Shenyuan Huan wrinkled his brows. I saw everything clearly. What are you trying to explain? It's not like that. Bailey Yuyan continued to blabber, her hand pulling at Shenyuan Huan's arm. She really didn't want Shenyuan Huan to loathe her. Master, some cultivators are approaching here. Little White said grudgingly. It had thought Master finally would have been able to teach Bailey Yuyan a lesson. But now they were unable to dispose of her. Bailey Hongzhuang restrained the cold light in her eyes. With so much noise here, it was difficult to avoid attracting attention. Rather than taking action now, it was much better to leave first. AI, truly a pity missing such a great opportunity. Little Black sighed with regret. Bailey Yuyan should have long ago been dealt with. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled indifferently. We have 3 days, there'll be plenty of chances. Besides, she didn't even need to bother herself to find Bailey Yuyan. Bailey Yuyan would come to her and would definitely be dealt with sooner or later. The next moment, Bailey Hongzhuang turned around and walked ahead without the slightest bit of hesitation. Bailey Yuyan and Shenyuan Huan can become everybody's gossip, but she didn't want to have any relations with those two. Seeing Bailey Hongzhuang turning around to leave, Shenyuan Huan immediately wanted to chase her. However, Bailey Yuyan was still tightly hugging onto his arm. She couldn't allow Shenyuan Huan to leave like this. If he did, she would never get another chance to explain everything to him again. Shenyuan Huan's eyes were helpless. He wanted to take back his sleeve from Bailey Yuyan's arms, but he still had to take into account his image in front of all the cultivators watching him. He could only watch Bailey Hongzhuang's figure walk further and further away. To get rid of Shenyuan Huan, Bailey Hongzhuang considered continuing to walk deeper into Wuxia Mountain but then changed her mind. She didn't want Shenyuan Huan to catch up with her. Roar! Suddenly, a demonic beast howled, attracting Bailey Hongzhuang's attention. Her beautiful face turned serious. There was a demonic beast nearby. Boom boom. Just then, Bailey Hongzhuang saw 2 red beams of light lunging towards her as fast as lightning. Her heart beat. Bailey Hongzhuang shifted her feet, her figure quickly disappearing and appearing not so far away. The demonic beast clearly didn't give up because of Bailey Hongzhuang's disappearance, its gaze once again turning to stare at her. With a glance, Bailey Hongzhuang instantly recognized the demonic beast that had just attacked her. It was the mysterious Earth Intermediate Middle Stage demonic beast Firefox. A firefox's entire body was scarlet like a flame. Wherever it lived, the surrounding temperatures will slightly rise. It specialized in speed and sneak attacks, and its nature was warlike. It often takes the initiative to attack cultivators. Bailey Hongzhuang wielded a sword, her black pupils glinting coldly. The firefox bared its fangs as it looked at Bailey Hongzhuang, its face fierce. After failing the first time, it appeared to be dissatisfied as it rushed at her once more. Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes sharpened, the qi in her body surging. In a split second, she reached the firefox and attacked. Chapter 134. You could only see a flash of silver light, together with a sound of something falling to the ground. Thump. The head of the firefox fell to the floor, still bearing its fangs. However, it no longer had any of its former sinister appearance. Bailey Hongzhuang calmly landed on the ground, turning to the firefox's head. Her long double-edged sword moved, directly taking out the crystal from inside its body. With her current strength, a firefox was nothing. As she continued her journey, Bailey Hongzhuang encountered many demonic beasts. But she always disposed of them quickly as if it was something she did every day. The royal hunting competition was always held at Wuxia Mountain, so the demonic beasts inside were usually roughly the same strength as the cultivators. Otherwise, the younger generation inside would suffer heavy losses. That was not the result the royal family wished to see. The curtain of night shrouded the earth. The night at Wuxia Mountain was especially clamorous. Demonic beasts always preferred to move at nighttime. Countless screams and roars could be heard inside the mountain range, falling incessantly on the ear. Master, the time is already late. It's better to find a remote place to spend the night. Little Black suggested. Bailey Hongzhuang slowly nodded. I was just looking for a safer area to rest. At night time, wanting to rest safely wasn't easy. You needed to avoid the demonic beast's range, or else it'd be near impossible to rest well. She had a lot of experience with mountain ranges. Before she would often train in the mountains and clearly understood how to find somewhere to rest. Little Black and Little White's faces were filled with confusion. They actually didn't know what she meant by safer area to rest. Inside the black canopy, a white figure was constantly moving, seeming to be a ghost. A long time later, Bailey Hongzhuang finally found an area she was satisfied with and at once leaned on the tree to rest. Little Black and Little White were very aware that their roles were to guard her. They looked at Bailey Hongzhuang curiously. "Master, why aren't you lighting a fire?" Usually in the pitch-black night, people would always set up a bonfire to keep warm. Other cultivators were already lighting their own fires, but they discovered that their master had no intentions of making her own. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled gently. Low-level demonic beasts are very sensitive to flames. If someone lights a fire, they would attract many demonic beasts. Cultivators with experience would usually not choose to light a fire because it was tantamount to directly revealing your location. Even if the demonic beasts were nothing to some cultivators, they might still bring about hidden troubles. Hearing Bailey Hongzhuang's words, the confusion in Little Black and Little White's eyes changed into adoration. Sure enough, Master was the best. Bailey Hongzhuang closed her eyes and entered a state of cultivation. The power in the mountain ranges are very rich and very beneficial to her cultivation. The many cultivators resting in Wuxia Mountain had no idea that everything they did were being watched by other people. I heard that in the imperial city, Bailey Hongzhuang was known as trash. But now it seems that her aptitude is even better than many of the others. A man dressed in black robes stood, his eyes flashing with appreciation as he looked at Bailey Hongzhuang's body amongst all the other cultivators. Earlier, Bailey Yuyan thought to destroy Bailey Hongzhuang. Now I think Bailey Hongzhuang movements will be interrupted. Fu Hongbo smiled faintly. Lu Huayin nodded. The other cultivators have already started to form teams, but this girl still intends to stay alone. At Bailey Hongzhuang's age, it wasn't easy to spend the night alone, let alone compete against almost all of the cultivators' experience. Chapter 135. Only if they could find teammates to rotate the night vigil with, can they have a good rest. Almost every competitor was like this, but only Bailey Hongzhuang was an exception. I like this girl. Fu Hongbo's lips formed a faint smile. Now, apart from the usual scattered loose outside, it's not easy to find such a girl with such a strong will in a royal's family hunting competition. Hearing so, Lu Huayan's eyes also flickered with approval. These days there are less and less good seedlings inside the officials' homes. I still found a few I like with rather ordinary talents amongst the younger generation, but this is the first time a royal hunting competition is so interesting. Save me. Is there anyone? Help up. A panicked cry for help echoed not too far away, the voice full of extreme fear and dread. Bailey Hongzhuang opened her eyes, looking in the direction of the voice. Not saying anything further, she turned and walked over to the source of the screams. Little Black and Little White shared a glance. Their master would never make a loss. With her temper, it was impossible that she'd save somebody for no cause or reason. As Bailey Hongzhuang gradually approached, the fire blazed eye-catchingly in the night. Really? Bailey Hongzhuang's face was calm. She was already sure that the other party's trouble was because of the demonic beasts attracted by the fire. In her sight, she could see the figures of a man and woman besieged by 4 flame civets. Flame civets were especially sensitive to fires. As long as there was a flame in the open, it would be attracted to go there. But she didn't expect for there to actually be so many flame civets on Wuxia Mountain. The man and woman were both at mysterious Earth's intermediate stage, the same as the flame civet. But there were more flame civets than them, and coupled with their panic, lead to a huge loss in fighting strength. Only a short time had passed, and there were already countless scars on their bodies. Xiao Shifan and Zhao Yunqian's heart were filled with extreme fear. They also didn't expect for so many flame civets to suddenly appear. The two of them weren't the flame civets' opponents. Sooner or later they would die there. Yet when nobody came despite their cries for help, the two's hearts slowly lost all hope. In the past years, there was never a lack of fallen participants during the royal hunting competition, and it seemed like the two would be part of the dead ones of this year. At this moment, Xiao Zifan suddenly discovered a movement in front of them. A white figure appeared facing them. Suddenly he became ecstatic. "Miss, please help us, we'll always be thankful to you." They were the same lever as the flame civets, but there were more flame civets, leading to their current situation. But if this girl could join them, the situation could still be changed. However, Bailey Hongzhuang didn't even glance at them. Chapter 136. Hearing it was actually Bailey Hongzhuang, Xiao Zifan's face became difficult to look at. He had finally seen a ray of hope in the crossroad between life and death, but didn't think the one who had come was Bailey Hongzhuang. Seeing Bailey Hongzhuang appear, one of the flame civets recognized her as an attack target and immediately rushed over to Bailey Hongzhuang. "Qin Wangfei, watch out." Xiao Zifan warned her immediately. Today it was his calamity. Although he wasn't very close to Bailey Hongzhuang, he still didn't want to see her die because of him. Sensing the flame civet rapidly rushing towards her, Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes flashed with coldness. Her sword came out, its speed like lightning. Only a silver flash was visible before Bailey Hongzhuang withdrew her sword. Laying on the ground, the flame civet already couldn't make a sound. Seeing what had happened, Xiao Zifan and Zhao Yunqian stood in shock. Staring with their eyes opened agape, they couldn't believe all what happened in front of them had been real. That was a mysterious Earth intermediate stage flame civet. Did Bailey Hongzhuang actually just kill a flame civet with a single move? Even before the two of them could see the movements of Bailey Hongzhuang clearly, everything had already ended. Jiuich. Zhao Yifan's mouth sputtered. Bailey Hongzhuang was actually so powerful. If it wasn't for the fact that they were still being attacked by the flame civets, Zhao Yunqian truly wanted to rub her eyes just to make sure what she was seeing was real. When the flame civets saw their companion be killed by Bailey Hongzhuang, they all started howling and charged together towards Bailey Hongzhuang. Bailey Hongzhuang's face was indifferent as she waved her sword. Rays of light flashed and all the attacking flame civets were beheaded. One by one, the three flame civets' corpses dropped to the floor. From start to finish, Bailey Hongzhuang was always calm. She killed the mysterious Earth intermediate staged flame civet as if she was only killing an ordinary cat. Waving her sword again, Bailey Hongzhuang skillfully removed the flame civet's demonic crystals. These things had many uses. Xiao Zifan and Zhao Yunqian looked at each other before slowly walking over to Bailey Hongzhuang. "Many thanks to Qin Wangfei for disposing of the beasts and coming to our aid." Xiao Zifan cupped his fists in gratitude. Bailey Hongzhuang looked at the two indifferently. She had no impression of the two in front of her. Actually, the only people she knew in the hunting competition were Bailey Yuyan and Shenyuan Huan. "Don't thank me, thank yourself." Bailey Hongzhuang quickly turned around, unhurriedly walking back to rest. Originally she had no intentions of helping them, and only decided to when she heard Xiao Zifan shout at her to be careful. At least Xiao Zifan was kind-hearted. She was willing to spend a little energy to help him. Seeing Bailey Hongzhuang's indifferent appearance, Xiao Zifan unconsciously felt a little strange. He shouted as he watched her leave, "No matter what, thank you for saving us. Don't light any fires at night." Bailey Hongzhuang's figure faded away into the forest, a cool breeze carrying the warm words. Xiao Zifan smiled a little. Before he didn't know Bailey Hongzhuang at all, but after meeting her, he thought that she was actually a very good person. "I didn't expect Bailey Hongzhuang's strength was actually so strong," Zhao Yunqian said in a daze. "Only using one hit to kill a flame civet, how could she be so powerful?" Xiao Zifan shook his head. He only knew Bailey Hongzhuang's strength far surpassed theirs but had no idea how far. It seems like everyone's judgment was wrong. Qin Wangfei simply isn't trash at all. Zhao Yunqian sighed with relief. "We finally escaped the frightening experience without pain, safe and sound. We are indebted to Bailey Hongzhuang." Xiao Zifan smiled, turning around to extinguish the fire. He took Bailey Hongzhuang's final departing words to heart. The night quietly passed. As the sun rose, Bailey Hongzhuang stopped cultivating and freshened herself up before once more continuing her journey. Bailey Hongzhuang began to take the initiative to attack. Anytime she heard a demonic beast's movements, she would go to check it out. She needed to find the Storm Wolf's location for the competition. Throughout the course of half a day, although Bailey Hongzhuang didn't find the Storm Wolf, she did collect many beast crystals. "Master, we still haven't found the Storm Wolf." Little White's face was helpless. Although the range of their spirit force was very wide, something in the hunting field was hindering it, making the range of their searching very limited. After probing around with their spirit force, they were still unable to find even a trace of the storm wolf. Bailey Hongzhuang pursed her lips into a small smile. Wuxia Mountain isn't small at all. We've already explored half of it, so the storm wolf should be somewhere up ahead. We'll run into it sooner or later. From the cultivators competing this year, only Xinyuan Huan or Bailey Yuyen would be able to kill it. If someone did kill it, once the news is spread, even if they could escape the first time, they wouldn't be able to escape again. Bailey Hongzhuang continued to move ahead when suddenly, a figure appeared in front of her. When Yi Yitong saw Bailey Hongzhuang come, her pretty face couldn't help but turn a little disappointed. Although there were many demonic beasts in Wuxia Mountain, killing them one by one was very troublesome. It was much better to rob other cultivators, saving time and effort. Seeing a woman come alone without another person gave Yi Yitong this idea. After all, with her mysterious earth late-stage cultivation, there was almost no chance of failure. But she didn't expect for this woman to actually be Bailey Hongzhuang. The excitement in her heart completely disappeared. Such trash even surviving in these mountains until now was already a miracle. How could she have killed any demonic beast? Hand over all your beast crystals and money, and I will release your horse, Yi Yitong said lazily. Although she didn't care about Bailey Hongzhuang as the Chen Wangfei, she should be very rich. Robbing some money was also very good. Seeing Yi Yitong look at her with contempt, Bailey Hongzhuang's lips curled into a bewitching smile as she asked, Why? Why? Yi Yitong couldn't help but laugh. Because in front of my strength, you're just trash. Who do you think you are? Bailey Hongzhuang's smile slowly turned cold. You dare to talk big in front of me? Seeing Bailey Hongzhuang act like this, Yi Yitong sneered. It seems that Bailey Hongzhuang still didn't fully understand the situation. Do you think you would be safe just because of your title of Wangfei? This is the hunting field. Even if I kill you, nobody would ever know. Bailey Hongzhuang's smile turned even more enchanting and seductive. I want to see if you have the ability. Yi Yitong was speechless. Bailey Hongzhuang, that trash, was mocking her? She dares. Not knowing fear until facing death. Yi Yitong's words contained killing intent. I already gave you a chance. Since you can't differentiate between good and bad, don't blame me for being ruthless. Chapter 138. Suddenly, another voice appeared. Yi Yitong, since I was the one who caught her, let's split the loot. Yi Yitong was startled, turning to find a boy in black robes standing behind her. A trace of light flickered past her eyes. Tian Weiming. Tian Weiming didn't pay much attention to Yi Yitong and instead turned to look at Bailey Hongzhuang. The corners of his mouth rose into an evil smile. I didn't expect you'd dare to start a fight with Chen Wangfei. Yi Yitong ignored Tian Weiming's ridicule. I promise you will get a slice of the pie. Tian Weiming's smile deepened. You sure talk fast. Let's split it half and half. No problem. Yi Yitong agreed, straightforward. Bailey Hongzhuang crossed her arms in front of her chest, sneering as she watched. I'll give you guys a chance. If you get out of my sight right now, I'll forgive you. Bailey Hongzhuang's voice was cold, her beautiful face full of killing intent. The two were already talking about how to divide the loot, not putting her in their eyes at all. Trying to rob her, it could only be said that they had some terrible luck. Since they were acting so arrogant, she didn't mind letting them see the knowledge and experience that came with true arrogance. Hearing her words, Tian Weiming and Yi Yitong were momentarily startled before bursting into loud laughter. What did I just hear? Trash dared to threaten us? Tian Weiming laughed incredulously. This was the biggest joke he had ever heard. Just kill her to avoid any more trouble, Yi Yitong said coldly. Right now there was always a chance for someone to come. Rather than wasting time, it'd be much better to just directly kill her. Tian Weiming nodded in agreement. Will you do it or should I? I'll go. Yi Yitong raised her eyebrow, smiling. Master, these two fellows are just too hateful. Little Black already couldn't watch, wishing that he could just go and deal with Yi Yitong and Tian Weiming right then and there. Bailey Hongzhuang was still smiling, but her eyes were cold like a glacier. Since you guys didn't treasure that chance, I can only let you two enter heaven. The next moment, Bailey Hongzhuang raised her hand and waggled her finger. Come. Arrogant. Yi Yitong's face turned ugly. A waste dared to tell her to come, what a joke. Her mind stirred, chi immediately surging through her body. Her strength was undoubtedly mysterious earth late-stage cultivation. Accept death. Yi Yitong's figure suddenly moved, waving her long sword. She directly attacked Bailey Hongzhuang's vital organs with the intent to kill her. Bailey Hongzhuang narrowed her eyes. This Yitong was truly very impulsive. Before, there was never a conflict between her and Yitong, and now she wanted to kill her. Yitong's heart was truly vicious. In the split second as Yitong charged, Bailey Hongzhuang also disappeared. Shadowless kill. Only a silver light could be seen, piercing into the vast sky. Bailey Hongzhuang's figure disappeared, no longer standing where she was before. Shadowless kill can kill people without a trace, and its speed couldn't be judged. When she just began to train in her past life, this was the skill she relied on most to kill people. Although now she was in a different body, she was still skilled as before. Tian Weiming watched lazily. He didn't care about Bailey Hongzhuang, he only thought of it as reaping benefits in passing. This kind of trash he had no interest at all. Beast crystals, demonic cores, but in the next moment Tian Weiming could no longer smile, his eyes filled with fright. He couldn't even hear the two weapons meet. He could only see Bailey Hongzhuang's figure disappear, and then reappear behind Yi Yitong like a ghost. Thump. A heavy body fell to the ground with a loud thump. Yi Yitong's two big eyes stared at the ground. The ridicule and happiness in her eyes were replaced by dense fear. Warm liquid gushed out of her throat, impossible to stop. One move. Only one move, and she no longer had the strength to fight back. Yi Yitong's heart was filled with unwillingness. She didn't want to believe that she would die today at Bailey Hongzhuang's hand. She only thought it'd be a one-sided slaughter. How come she ended up losing her life? Nobody gave her an answer. Even Bailey Hongzhuang didn't spare her so much as a glance after she hit her. Yi Yilong was certain that she had already killed her. Looking at the unmoving Yi Yitong, Tian Weiming was completely stunned. What happened? The smile on Bailey Hongzhuang's lips grew more and more enchanting. Her red lips gently opened, her voice full of charm. You said you wanted to kill me? Hearing Bailey Hongzhuang speak those words in such a soft voice, Tian Weiming could only feel his back turn cold, the fear enveloping him. He and Yi Yitong were both at late-stage mysterious Earth. Since Bailey Hongzhuang was capable of killing Yi Yitong in one stroke, killing him was just as easy. Qin Wangfei, I had eyes but failed to recognize MT Tai. You must spare me this time. Tian Weiming's face was pale as he begged for mercy. Earlier you threatened to kill me. Did you really think that I would let you off? Bailey Hongzhuang sneered. If someone offends me, Bailey Hongzhuang, they will not have a good end. Her voice was hard. Bailey Hongzhuang's sharp sword moved again. Before Tian Weiming could escape, he had already died. The two were dealt with in a flash. Bailey Hongzhuang calmly took the two's heaven and earth pouches before continuing her journey. If others didn't offend her, she wouldn't offend others. She never liked taking the initiative to invite trouble upon herself, but if others looked for trouble with her, she wouldn't be soft. Little Black and Little White each took a heaven-earth pouch and looked inside. There were many demonic cores. It looks like it wasn't the first time they did something like that. Today's harvest is far better than killing demonic beasts individually. Bailey Hongzhuang kept all the demonic cores together. With Yi Yitong's temper, she's afraid that the number of cultivators that died by her hands weren't small. Chapter 140. Through her exchanges with other cultivators, she knew that nobody had encountered the storm wolf yet. Out of 3 days, 2 of them have already passed. There was only 1 day left. Everyone had already started to look for the storm wolf. Once again finding a quiet region to rest, Bailey Hongzhuang entered a state of cultivation. During the day she had killed many demonic beasts, consuming much of her qi. She needed to cultivate and raise her power to stay at optimal strength. As Bailey Hongzhuang quietly cultivated, everybody was talking about Yi Yitong's and Tian Weiming's deaths. I saw Yi Yitong and Tian Weiming's corpses. They were killed cleanly with a cut to the throat. It must be a cultivator who did this. Hearing what the cultivator said, everyone was startled. Yi Yitong and Tian Weiming were very strong amongst the cultivators competing in the hunting competition. If they could directly kill 2 late-stage mysterious earth cultivators with only a stroke to the throat, just how strong were they? Yi Yitong always acted arrogantly, never putting anyone into her eyes. It's not surprising for her to be killed because she offended somebody. Maybe the other party isn't alone. We need to be careful, otherwise it'd be too late to regret it. Xiao Zifan and Zhao Yunqian couldn't help but look at each other as they listened. Their minds instantly thought of Bailey Hongzhuang. Using one stroke of the sword to cut the throat, that was just like how Bailey Hongzhuang killed the flame civets. There was no one else on the whole mountain that had the capabilities to do it. But the two didn't say anything. Regardless of who killed those two, it had nothing to do with them. And Bailey Hongzhuang was still the benefactor that saved their lives. When Bailey Yuyan heard this, she was also stunned. She and Yi Yitong had kept in touch and clearly knew the latter's strength. She was right, besides her and Shenyuan Huan, Yi Yitong and Tian Weiming were definitely the strongest here. But now the two were dead. Could that mean there were even stronger powers in the hunting field? Or were they killed under Shenyuan Huan's hand? Although Bailey Hongzhuang was cultivating peacefully, her spirit was actually very aware of her surroundings. The night seemed to be especially unpeaceful. The demonic beast's roars were far more than the last night, as if something had attracted its attention. According to her experience, something must have happened. At this moment, Little Black suddenly spoke up, its voice containing a trace of worry. "Master, a group of beasts are surrounding us in all directions. Its target is us." Bailey Hongzhuang her eyes. A cold, dark blue light flickered inside her dark pupils. The air was filled with the stench of blood. Hell Wolf. Bailey Hongzhuang frowned. She didn't expect for there to actually be hell wolves inside Wuxia Mountain. The strangest thing is that she'd never provoked them, so why would the hell wolves attack her for no reason? Hell wolves lived in packs. They were cruel and merciless by nature, their strength equivalent to mysterious Earth late stage. Hell wolves and storm wolves were different. Storm wolves not only lived alone, but its speed was also incomparable to the hell wolves. If you were to ask a cultivator what demonic beast they wanted to avoid the most, all of them would definitely say hell wolves without the least bit of hesitation. A single hell wolf on its own wasn't bad, but their strength as a group was terrifying. Once surrounded by a group of them, the vast majority of cultivators would definitely die. A group of dreadful demonic beasts was something no cultivator wanted to provoke. Bailey Hongzhuang slowly got up, her sharp sword already in her hand. She had a faint premonition. This was a game. Chapter 141. Master, there's too many hell wolves for you to handle. It's better for you to let me or Little Black do it. Little White spoke. Although Bailey Hongzhuang was stronger than the hell wolves, she was heavily outnumbered. If all the hell wolves were to attack at once, Bailey Hongzhuang wouldn't be able to persist for long. Little Black nodded his head again and again, beginning to rub his fists. Just watch me beat up these bastards. That won't work. Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes lowered. You guys can't come out. Hearing Bailey Hongzhuang's words, Little Black and Little White looked at each other. They immediately understood the meaning behind Bailey Hongzhuang's words. Someone's watching us here, so every action we do here will be seen. It's better to not take the risk. Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes were hard. This I will do myself. Little Black and Little White knew that she was very serious about guaranteeing their safety. Although her strength still currently wasn't enough to protect them, she still didn't let them take any risks. If her calculations were right, then the pack of hell wolves must have been a plan set up a long time ago. Although she didn't know if this was done by another competitor or a third party, she knew for certain that some force was watching her. Therefore she couldn't take any chances. Hearing Bailey Hongzhuang's confident speech, although Little Black and Little White turned silent, their hearts only grew all the more worried. Awoo! The hell wolves began to howl, pairs of dark indigo eyes locking onto Bailey Hongzhuang's body, flickering with hunger. They already clearly regarded Bailey Hongzhuang as food. Killing her too fast wouldn't allay their hunger. At such a dangerous moment, Bailey Hongzhuang's heart was actually very calm. Hell wolves weren't her opponent. She just needed to save her strength and avoid making mistakes. Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes were filled with a vicious, cold light as her stare locked onto the hell wolves. A dense killing intent filled the air. 1 The hell wolves' king howled loudly. All the hell wolves seemed to have just gotten an order, at once charging at Bailey Hongzhuang. Bailey Hongzhuang's right leg suddenly stepped forward, mysterious early-stage power erupting from her body. A hell wolf took the initiative to lunge at Bailey Hongzhuang. Its jaw was open wide, exposing its sharp teeth. If Bailey Hongzhuang fell down, it would definitely bite her neck. Bailey Hongzhuang's figure moved. She quickly dodged its lunge and at the same time, poured chi into her sword, directly stabbing towards the hell wolf's most vulnerable place, the stomach. A head of copper, bones like iron, and tofu for its waist. That was how people described wolves. Under a group attack, she needed to save every drop of energy and kill a hell wolf with every strike. Only like this would the situation be turned around. TCH. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.